right, and welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 6 of Arcanum Unbounded. I am Midnight, the host, and I'm here with Darkness
Hello.
and Mythic.
Hello.
And we read all of Whitesand and Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell.
That was
This
a
episode.
long ass fucking thing.
Yeah, Shadows for Silence was long. Mostly because it
It was
wasn't like
2.5
broken up. It was like
Bro,
Hmm?
I was dying because I went into the chapter and it was like 40 minutes till the end of the chapter, and I was like, no, this is a bug, right? And I
No, they
fucking
just
read
don't have
like 10 minutes,
chapters.
and it's like 30 minutes, and I'm like, bitch, I'm dying. It's like 4 a.m.
Yeah, there's just no there was just no chapter breaks for some reason in Silence. Which was also a lot for me because like I like having that like progress of like, okay, I've gotten through this many chapters, I'm feeling good. I'm like, oh my god, there's no chapter breaks in this.
Right.
But yeah, first we start off with Whitesand. So Mythic wouldn't have had this, but Darkness also had a graphic novel version, but you also would have had the prose version that Mythic would have listened to.
That shit. I came back to it after, actually.
Yeah, it's basically the exact same thing. I find the prose version's a bit better in my opinion because like it actually gives like thoughts and like a bit more description instead of just being visual. So I personally prefer the prose.
I didn't really like that.
You didn't like the prose or the graphic novel?
Whatever I got it for the graphic novel.
You didn't like the graphic novel section?
No.
Yeah, so that's how all of the full Whitesand stuff is it's all graphic novel, which I've not. I wasn't like a big fan of. I haven't.
I didn't.
I don't know, but that dude is a badass as fuck. Holy shit.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I feel like there's nowhere near enough detail, you know?
Yeah, as I said, like if you guys are interested, you're free to read the Whitesand graphic novels in your own time if you really want to. I probably won't do it on the podcast because
Is it all on that dude that we're focused on?
I believe he's the main character, and I believe Chris. I believe Chris is also in the full story.
Oh, okay. Well, I might have to go find it now because I actually like that dude.
Yeah, so I've listened to people do a similar podcast to us because based on like what I base this podcast on, and so I've listened to people go through it.
People.
Kind of, yes. I said that at the start.
Yeah, she did. There's never an original idea ever.
No,
Everything's
never. But yeah, so I've listened. I know like the basic plot of the story, but it's been apparently really hard sometimes to get the graphic novels. I think it's easier now because like they've like combined it, but there's like they had different artists because they've had issues with the different artists, and I know that Brandon has said like sometimes the artist didn't do exactly what he wanted, so like I don't know if in the long term how canon the actual graphic novel is going to be because I've heard that he may just write like a proper book on it instead. So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't really feel like going through it in the podcast because I don't know if he's going to redo it in the future, which is why you guys are free to go
She
through
looks fucking badass.
Who?
I'm guessing this is the chick with the gun.
Oh, Chris?
I'm guessing on just the fucking where the fuck this?
Did you look like the cover?
Yeah.
This is what cover look
cool
like.
Shit. I don't know. It's her. This is Whitesand Omnibus.
Yeah, the Whitesand. Oh yeah, I think that's Chris and is that Chris and Kenton? I think that might be Chris and Kenton.
So that's Kenton in this thing. So yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So Chris. Yeah, that's Chris with the book.
Yeah, she look badass as fuck.
Here, I'll send this picture that I found to Darkness so he can also see.
All right. Well, I guess I gotta
Look
go to
how the bug
local
looked.
Barnes and Nobles.
The freaking Sandling or whatever.
The comic book.
Yeah, so that's Chris and Kenton in color.
Yeah, they look cool as shit. I like Chris. She looks cool.
Yeah, Chris is pretty cool.
I'm looking for a gun, but I don't see a gun on her, so.
I don't know if she has the gun yet in the book. I don't know if she gets that.
I don't know, but in Whitesand Volume 2, this one dude in the back behind her has a gun.
Oh, okay, so. She probably does have a gun on somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going into the prologue. We start with Praxton admiring the bone-white sand dunes, bleached by the sun that never set. The wind blew sand against his face, even his hood wasn't blocking it very well. A dozen young men in brown robes stood a bit away from him, and he thinks that they don't fully understand the significance of this testing. A white-robed mastrel has the boys pull out small cloth bags. Praxton is presiding over this test as the Lord Mastrel, leader of the Sand Masters. He watches emotionlessly as each boy takes out a handful of white sand, holding it tightly to try to keep the wind from blowing it away. He was annoyed with the wind as the nearby mountain, Creda, and the rocky cliffs were supposed to keep the wind at bay here. The first boy starts his test, concentrating on the sand in his hand until it glows before turning a dull black. One of the senior mastrels, Tendril, says that it's a good start. Praxton agrees with Tendril's statement and thinks the boy is named Traben and is the son of a lower sand master. Being able to see the glow from a short distance away was a sign of moderate power. The rest of the boys take their turns, some doing as well as Traben and others barely making the sand turn black. Praxton thinks it's a strong bunch who will bring strength to the diem. Suddenly there was an explosive flash from one of the boys named Drill. So what did you think about this test to see if someone has the ability to be a sandmaster?
It didn't make sense to me originally until after they kind of explained it a little more later.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't understand. Like, I was guessing, and I was kind of right about the fact that when they use their power and then like they let it go, the sand turns black. But I was like, is that like black sand? Can you still use it? Is it manipulated? Wow, all that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty cool. But I mean, I've seen it done in a lot of different other ways. So
What did you think, Darkness, of the test?
I thought it was cool, and I thought like, wait, did we get to the part where like the last one?
No, so he hasn't.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he hasn't talked about
So,
Kevin yet.
because that's when I had my whole like, oh, this is what I think about it moment. But I thought it was cool that like you could. It didn't work out the way I expected it to. Because I expected it to leave like no type of trail, like merge back to the sun and stuff.
Yeah,
And
no, it turns completely black until it gets like bleached by the sun again.
yeah, I was thinking like, imagine what it would look like if there was a war and there was just black sand all over the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Or like somebody who's like super powerful and stuff. You would see like black sand like in a like big radius,
Yeah. So then it's time for the final child. However, he barely produced a glow, and Praxton almost wasn't even sure if he saw a glow at all, as the sand turned a dull black. This boy was Praxton's last son, and the senior mastrels around him tried to comfort him, but he doesn't show his disappointment. He thinks that he will be remembered as the man who married someone from Darkside and thus produced no Sandmasters. So my question is do you think people on Darkside are similar to like the Ska and Scadrial, where they are less likely to be able to become Sandmasters because of genetics, or do you think it's just like superstition and racism?
could it be both?
I mean, it could be a bit of both.
I was gonna say, I think they just don't like each other, but also I feel like the people on the other area would have a different type, Like, what if their sand turns white?
I don't think they have sand there because it's not as like.
Okay, then it would be a whole different magic thing.
Yeah, I think they have like a more normal looking world, except that it's like always twilight, and I think it's briefly mentioned that like Flora might like glow or something. I forget what.
Also, that old man looks ugly as fuck.
Praxton.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you both think it's kind of like a mix or something then of genetics and racism. So Praxton then states that the ones who show talent will go into the DM, and the rest will choose another profession. The rest meaning just his son. However, his son, Kenton, states that he will become a Sandmaster, and that the law states that he has enough power to become one. However, Praxton thinks that if Kenton joins the DM, it will weaken his authority by association. He begs Kenton to see reason, but Kenton holds firm, and Praxton eventually gives in. Kenton goes in to join the other boys, and Praxton thinks that things will be especially hard for the boy in the DM. He thinks that the other students will resent Kenton, thinking anything he does could be due to favoritism. Praxton thinks that his youngest child will be his biggest embarrassment. So what were your overall thoughts on Praxton after the prologue?
What was Praxton? Praxton's his father, right?
Yeah, the dad, the Lord Master.
Fuck him. Fuck him. I didn't like him the whole way through, even at the end.
At the beginning, when his son like pulled up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he got tested and everything, and he did like a tiny little spark, and he was like, "Oh, this is my legacy" or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I felt bad for like a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I saw the child argue with him, and I was like, "This dude is an asshole." Like like at the beginning, I felt bad, but like as soon as I saw him being that way, get him out of here.
Yeah, Praxton seems to only really care about his
Legacy.
Like legacy, but also, like his image in like how people see
his status.
Him.
There you go.
Yeah, his status in like the DM. He doesn't seem to really care about if his kids are able to practice Sandmastery or not. He's just like, how will this reflect on me?
Yeah.
So then we start Chapter 1, which we switch to Kenton's point of view as he stands in the same place 8 years later, now a man. He now wore the white robes of a Sandmaster, but had no colored sash as he had yet to be assigned a rank. He also had a sword and was the only armed Sandmaster. His father asked if he was really going through with this foolishness. Kenton just looks back defiantly, causing Praxton to look embarrassed and disgusted. Praxton then gestures for Kenton to follow him off a distance from the other Sandmasters. He says the Sandlord only knows how much trouble Kenton has caused, and he asks Kenton why he must constantly defy him. Kenton then says that once a Sandmaster accepts a rank, he's frozen in place. Kenton apparently refused a rank 4 times now. So, do you think Kenton is mainly doing this to defy his father, or because he really wants to become a Mastral, or do you think it's like a mixture of both?
Even at this point, I was like, this man's gonna fucking show everybody how good he is.
Right. It's definitely a mix of both.
Like, do you think he would be this determined to be like a higher rank if it wasn't for how much his dad was against him, do you think?
I mean, I feel like he'd still be striving for it, but I feel like
I think
his
the
father
defiance of
support him.
like what he feels in general. I feel like that sort of defiance is a general defiance rather than specific defiance for his father. So like if somebody else had tested him and been like, I guess you're not good enough, he would have still wanted to do it.
You see. So Praxton then offers Kenton the rank of Fen, which is the second lowest of the 9 ranks, if he doesn't run the path. The previous times Kenton had been offered the lowest rank of Under Fen. Kenton, however, replies that he wants to be a Mastral, causing Praxton to curse Aisha. Praxton then complains that Kenton is inept enough to make the 100 Fools look brilliant, and says that even if Kenton runs the Mastral's path, he won't promote him to Mastral. Kenton had for a second doubted if he should take the rank offered, but his father's words make him more insistent on running the path. Kenton argues that ability is more important than power. However, Praxton asks if he can slatrify, meaning turn sand into water, which he cannot. He also can only control 1 ribbon of sand. Praxton says every Mastral can use at least 15 sand ribbons. However, Kenton just says he'll prove that he's good enough. He then approaches another Sandmaster named Aloran, who asks if he's sure he wants to do this, as Mastrals have died during the path before. But Kenton replies that he is sure. So what do you think about Praxton not wanting Kenton to try the path, and how he looks down on Kenton?
Well, we kind of just went over how I think he's a asshole in general.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there were so many chances where I was like, "Oh my, he's gonna redeem himself. He's gonna actually show that he, wants to support him and all that." No, he's just like a wrinkly old raisin with no sort of fucking feeling.
Do you have any other thoughts, Mythic?
I mean, I agree. Now I'm kind of I'm looking at this fucking graphic novel now because I wanted to know what the creature looked like. Now I figured it out and I like it. This is fucking cool. I don't know why.
Yeah, the creature looked cool. That's the first thing I wanted to see.
Thing. God damn, this thing is so cool.
So Lauren then explains that a group of them will watch over Kenton's run to make sure he doesn't cheat. They will also not help him unless he asks them to, and if they do help, the run is over. He then pulls out a small red sphere and asks that Kenton needs to find says that Kenton needs to find all 5 of them, and he has until the moon reappears on the other side of the mountain to get all 5 spheres. Kenton glances at the sky and estimates that he'll have about 100 minutes, which is an hour in this world, to run the path based on where the moon is currently. Lauren then says that Kenton can't take his Gito, which is his water bottle, with him. Praxton also tries to get Kenton to not bring his sword, but Kenton argues that there is no rule against it, and Aloran agrees with Kenton. Although Kenton could tell that Aloran also didn't agree with him having a sword, as it was seen as something for lower professions like soldiers. Before he goes to start, Aloran says for the Sandlord to protect him. So what do you think about Kenton taking along a sword with him?
I was like, this is going to be... It's going to come in handy somehow. He's going to fucking kill some creature. I didn't know I didn't know it was actually going to be a creature, but I was like, he's going to use it very effectively,
Mm-hmm.
Loki, I thought he had found a way to merge his magic with the sword.
That would have been pretty cool too.
Imagine Jen's sword sand blade.
I mean, there's a point in the audiobook that that I'm listening to where it was talking about it, how long he had left after the first time he gets a little orb or whatever, and they were like, he spent 60 minutes of his hour, and I'm like, that is literally an hour.
Yeah, no, I remember having to go back to it. I was like, wait, how long is it an hour again? I'm pretty sure they mentioned it, and I'm like, right, it's 100 minutes. Yeah, I think it's after the first 2 orbs, because they kind of skip over the first 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he's 60
just has
in his
them.
100 minutes.
He just has them.
Wait, what?
Okay, so apparently in this world, an hour is 100 minutes, not 60 minutes. So in the
Right.
book, when or with
60
the
minutes is
audiobook,
like,
when I was listening to it, the person goes, he spent 60 minutes of his hour, and I'm
Yeah.
like, the fuck?
Yeah,
okay.
I think I'm assuming that 100 is like probably important in this world because there's 100 minutes in an hour, and then there's the 100 fools. So I feel like it's probably like kind of like how 16 was a big thing on stage reel, and it's also just a big thing in general. But how like 100 is probably like a big thing
Oh,
on
wait,
Paladine.
it's a big thing in general. Can you go into more depth on that?
Well, we literally talked about how there's 16 shards.
Yeah,
Remember?
but can we go into more depth on that? Why is that important?
That's why 16 was important on stage reel. That's why preservation was like 16 is an important
So
number
so
because there's
it's
16
only because
shards.
of the gods, huh? There's no other reason, huh?
I think the basis of 16 being important is because there's
I
16
mean,
shards.
I still think there's 17 gods, but you know,
Who
because
knows?
I think Hoyd is a god.
I'm a god. What do you mean?
Also, what do you think about them kind of looking down on other professions compared to sandmasters? Because they talk specifically about like soldiers being a lesser
Soldiers.
profession. Hmm?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So they are a lesser profession. You're not wrong.
Mm.
I mean, hey, if you could use sand magic, you know, you're just better. Like Gara out here.
So Kenton finds his first two spheres extremely quickly, almost worryingly so, as he runs across the large stone ledges, some barely breaking the sand and some going hundreds of feet into the air. He thinks that the place is almost sacred to the Sandmasters. However, they're mostly non-religious. The sand here was also too shallow to sustain a town, so very few outside the Sandmasters even knew of the place. He also thinks about how, for the last 4 years, he had seen new recruits easily surpass him, able to use dozens of sand ribbons and not have to practice as hard as him to use. However, he planned to prove that there were other ways to succeed as a sandmaster. He soon comes to a large chasm between the rocky ledges with a flag on the other side, indicating him to go that way. Most sandmasters could propel themselves across the gap with their sand, but Kenton could not. Instead, he jumps down the cliff and uses some sand he had in his fist to go down and gather mass at the bottom to slow his descent and stop him completely a foot from the ground. He steps off the ribbon and moves across the sand towards the other stone cliff. Kenton notes that his walk across the bottom of the chasm was wasting time and he had already used 60 minutes of his hour. His lips were also dry due to the sand mastery using the water in your body. You can see in the distance the other sandmasters likely thinking he was stuck down here, as he couldn't lift himself high enough to get up the cliff. However,
This is where I thought he was going to use the sword.
However, he instead makes a step for himself out of sand, and as he inches along the cliff,
Cool.
he has it keep moving with him, angling upwards as well. After just
That
a
is
few
so cool.
After just a few minutes, he gets to the top of the cliff and also notices a red sphere just 10 feet down, which he has his sand ribbon go and get for him. So, what do you think of Kenton's solution to the chasm?
He's like insanely smart. That's crazy.
I thought, like Mythic, I thought he was gonna use his sword like right there, and I thought he was gonna like start scaling with it. You know?
I mean, I like the way he did it because I was when I was thinking, oh, he's gonna use the sword. I'm like, it feels like a cheat to this whole thing. Like, this is
Right.
all about to be. This is supposed to be about your ability to use the sand or whatever. And like he's trying to prove that basically, I mean, he says it later, but that his his mastery of one, like whatever it is,
Sand
I can't
ribbon.
remember what ribbon, that's it. One ribbon is stronger than some, that have 15 to 24 or whatever, because he said 2 dozens. But like, and I think he's kind of right in that aspect, in the fact that like it kind of goes back to that whole jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. Like, he's literally only had this one ribbon, and so he has honed it to such a potential that it's better than, people who are relying on multiple ribbons. But I mean, he has to think and do things in a lot more unorthodox way, and he states it before, but like I like that concept, and that he's not just, oh, I use my sword and I scale the the building.
Yeah, he
Or
definitely
not,
has to
building, whatever.
be much more creative with his one sand ribbon because, like, there's that one test later where it's like, oh yeah, you could just throw a bunch of ribbons into a bunch of the random holes until you find it, but he has to be like, he only has the one, so like he can't just like mindlessly do things. He has to be really like kind of like think
That was
outside the box.
so
That
smart.
whole
Oh
one was
my
so bullshit
god.
in my opinion. But
I know. I was like, wow, bro. Like, these people are so dumb. How do you do that kind of shit? Like you're like, oh hey, I used my sand to put this in here. I have
They're so
no idea
lazy.
if yeah, I have no idea if that black sand will be seen or anything. Like that's so dumb.
Also, when he did the fucking thing where he like gathered more sand by like extending his thing by like 20 feet or some shit.
Yeah,
I
like
don't remember.
That was
I
making
was
it gather map at the bottom.
yeah,
okay,
it
but
was
like,
really
were y'all thinking like, how is he not fucking turning into a raisin too? Cause
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you guys also think about them having to use like water from their body to kind of fuel the sand magic?
that is so cool.
who's the god of this world or whatever?
Autonomy is the god
Yeah.
of this world.
Right, so that makes more sense, you know.
Yeah, because autonomy is like your body, your bodily autonomy.
You have to use yourself to get things
I
To
done.
wonder
power it.
if that's
Pretty
how it
cool.
works. Then in the other side, what they would have to sacrifice in their body.
Don't know.
I mean,
I don't know if they even talk about it much in the Whitesand novels, but I don't think we know much about Darkseid yet.
the thing that makes me curious is the whole sacrifice shit. And like, okay, so if you turn your
Right.
sand to water, does that mean that you hydrate yourself with it? Because
I
then
think you're supposed to hydrate yourself with it. Like it lets your
Yeah,
powers last longer. Like I don't
but
think you can
then
probably fully hydrate, but like you can basically like
that's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
know
So
if
wouldn't
I
it
was
be
gonna
an
say, couldn't you just
unlimited?
infinite? You
Yeah,
know,
it'd be unlimited cycle of I'm using sand kind of idea.
I
you'd
think it
see
would
me
kind of
chugging
be
sand water on one side and
I
then like
I
pouring
feel like it would
sand
kind of
on the
be like hemalurgy where like some power is lost. I'm assuming. I don't know for sure because as I said I haven't like read in detail Whitesand. But I'd assume that it wouldn't be like kind of an infinite thing. I'm assuming it'd be like you get back like 90% or 75% of what you've lost.
I still think if he merged his sand with the sword, it would be cool, you know.
I
But
mean, hey, maybe he does that in another one of these graphic
Use the
novels.
sand ribbon to wield the sword, just like swinging a sword
Oh.
around.
I was thinking more like cover the blade with sand
Yeah,
and
I
then
know,
just
but I
act
was just
as
thinking, I
like,
was just thinking of like this
you know,
random sand hand.
like a tentacle hand thing.
Yeah, and
God.
just like have
Sword.
it fight the monster with the sword.
Oh my god. Yeah, the way he kills that monster later is so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to that.
Oh my god, that made me. Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
All right, so we get to the next sphere, which is hidden in a rock wall with many fist-sized holes. He thinks it would take him a long time to search them with just one sand ribbon, but he
I
notices
wonder how many people fist those holes.
But he notices a bit of discolored sand in one area and quickly realizes that whomever put the sphere there had been careless and used sand mastery instead of their hand to place the sphere, thus letting him know where it was. He worries that he'll be penalized for this since it was only due to the carelessness of the sand masters that he found the sphere, but the sand masters just move on to keep watching. So, do you think Kenton could have passed this test without the mistake by the sand masters? Like, do you think he could have found another solution?
I mean, I feel like he could have.
What do you think, Darkness?
Nah,
You think
I
he
don't
might have
think
gotten
so.
stuck there if they weren't careless?
Yeah. There was just too many holes to pick from, you know?
So Kenton again notes how dehydrated he's starting to get and wishes he could slatrify, but he was unable to do so. As he continues on, he worries that he missed a sphere as he is getting close to the end of the path, and he doesn't have enough time to go back and search for it. He then notices a red sphere in the middle of a bowl-like stone formation that has sand at the bottom. He thinks that it must be something else about this as it seems too easy for the final sphere. Then suddenly the sand starts to move in the center, and Kenton thinks that this must be deep sand. He jumps backwards, and a black form shoots out of the ground. The creature was 20 feet long and had arm-like appendages and a box-like head with black eyes. The sandling swipes at him, and Kenton thinks that most of the creature's body is probably still beneath the sand. He had read of deep sandlings, but had never seen one before, and this one didn't match the description of any he had read about. The creature attacks again, and Kenton dodges and parries with his sword. Aloran calls out that they can't intercede unless he tells them to, but Kenton just ignores him. He tries to attack the creature with a fast-moving ribbon of sand, but it deflects off the creature easily. The creature slashes Kenton in the shoulder, and he realizes the creature is Turkin, meaning it was immune to sand mastery, and also meaning that it was weak to water, which Kenton was unable to make. What do you think of this deep sandling?
I mean, once I saw the picture of it, damn, it thinks it looks cool as shit. I expected something different.
Yeah.
I was thinking for D&D reference, I was thinking like purple worm looking thing at first.
I was
But
thinking, what's it called? A centipede.
Yeah, but then you see that fucking creature and it's like, whoa,
It looks so cool.
it
Yeah, I think
really
it's
does.
almost more like a
It's like a praying mantis, almost like a
praying mantis or like a
giant,
scorpion or
ugly
something.
praying mantis. Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking scorpion.
Some crazy looking shit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this made me think it would be cool if the dark side or whatever used water instead.
Had water
Yeah,
magic, like the opposite.
I actually do kind of like that idea because, like, but the problem that I find with that darkness is the fact that in this world, it's already kind of stated that water is like their water inner water is making them use the sand. So I don't know what the opposite is being
Oh yeah,
drained.
what would they give up, right?
Maybe it'd be
Yeah,
like
what are they
salt or
giving up?
something.
They're just like licking a block of salt. You know that wouldn't be too like far of a stretch, actually.
I mean, I want
Do
to
we
see.
do we know at all what they could do?
I think it's implied that so either they have no magic or they don't or they just don't talk about it. I think they kind of talk about how like the investiture comes from the large sun. So the fact that the large sun doesn't hit the dark side, I think it's implied that there's no sort of magic there.
Oh, that sucks.
Because it's not technically the sand necessarily that's fully like magical. It's like how the sand absorbs the investiture sunlight, I believe.
Yeah.
So if it's the sand, then why does?
So it's actually the sunlight, not necessarily the sand fully. So
So
basically,
what
I
is the
think all
sunlight
of
giving the power to the sand, or is it giving it to the
yeah. So
people?
basically, I think
Oh,
what they imply that happens is basically the sun like because the sun's like, really hot. Like they generally don't. I think they mainly live like underground and stuff on dayside. And so like the sun beats down really hard on the sand, turning it white and making it like giving it investiture, and then they can basically use the water in their body to like connect to the investiture and like manipulate it.
Wait, but like that still doesn't like. I guess it could be both like mythic says.
yeah. I mean, in my opinion, the way it seems is like a magnetic kind of force. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have to be polarized as well, and the sand is already polarized. So like they just use that ability to basically, manipulate the sand. And then there are going to be
But
people who don't have that innate ability inside them or have it too weak inside them, and then they don't become whatever. But
but if if the sun is the reason why that's happening, and it's giving power to both the sand and the people, what dictates why
So I'm
some
sorry.
people have less power?
Yeah. So
I mean, some people
I'm
just
going
can't
back to the
manipulate.
sorry. I'm going back to the
Oh,
Taldane
you're
system essay because it kind of talks about it a little bit. So it
good.
says specifically that for years we assumed our shard autonomy had invested only dayside. So there is some investiture on dark side through the sunlight itself. We know now that it's not as simple as this, though the mechanism is best explained under those assumptions. The investiture beats down from the sky and is absorbed by microflora that grows like a lichen on the surface of the sand, giving it a brilliant white color when fully invested, or deep blackness when investiture is depleted. Giving water to the tiny plant creates a chain reaction of sudden growth, energy, and realmatic transition. Certain people can control this reaction using the water from their own bodies to forge a brief cognitive bond. So basically, it sounds like it is a lot more complicated and that there might be some sort of investiture on dark side, but the easiest explanation is that the sunlight's when invested, it invests this like tiny microbes that are on top of the sand, and that's what forms the connection.
What was the other shard that we were talking about that might be the opposite of autonomy?
The other shard that you have not met a planet for is cultivation. That's the other one you know the name of.
Cultivation. Okay, so I mean, okay.
I, I think you guys
That's
kind
not
of
the one
agree
that
that
I
it doesn't
remember.
sound like it's an opposite of autonomy, but that's the other
No,
name you
but I
have.
thought there was another one, but okay.
Yeah, because the only
Odium
ones you know
or
are.
whatever it's called. The fucking I forgot what it's called. It's like odium or some shit.
Oh yeah, you guys also did learn of odium.
Oh my god, I was right. Okay.
Uh, and then you also know of what was the one that
We know of one other, and I forgot what
I'm
it's
forgetting the
called.
name of the one from Threnody that got destroyed by odium. What's the name of it again?
Um,
Was it like
I mean,
not invention? It was. Why can't I remember the name of the shard? This is bothering me.
I don't even look for it. I just want to remember.
Oh, I'm at the wrong fucking system essay. No wonder can't find it. I'm just
I
stupid.
like how in your like little stream or whatever, you're slowly going down and
Oh,
down.
I'm looking at the book. The evil 2 shards of Adonadian. No, Adonadian. Oh, Ambition. Ambition is the one that was shattered on Threnody. So I think you guys were talking about maybe I don't know. There's so you guys know obviously Preservation and Ruin. You guys know Dominion and Devotion, which are the 2 from Cell, and then you know Ambition from Threnody, Autonomy from Taldane, Odium you don't know where it is, Cultivation you don't know where it is. I believe that's all of them.
I don't know. Maybe cultivation is a thing. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out if theirs is autonomy, and the other ones could be like another god. Maybe let's investiture in that son.
Maybe it's not necessarily like
shard.
An opposite.
So there definitely is only the 1 shard on Taldane. There's not another shard.
Really?
They confirmed that in the essay. Autonomy is the only shard here.
But there could still be opposites in a different world.
There could be opposites, just it's not on Taldane, for sure.
Yeah.
So, because Mythic was kind of saying maybe a different shard was responsible for Darkside, but no. It's only Autonomy here. 100%.
What if Autonomy has a split personality?
I mean, maybe Autonomy has a split personality. What were you going to say, Mythic?
Who confirmed this?
I believe the System essay and also Brandon has confirmed it, because it says that the only shard is Autonomy. Because in each essay, it tells you the name of each god. And so in like the Cell one, it specifically says Dominion and Devotion. In Scadrial, it specifically says Ruin and Preservation. And then this one only says Autonomy. And Threnity's only says that Ambition was nearby, even though Odium killed Ambition, but Odium is not part of the Threnodite system. Odium is elsewhere, currently.
Wait, repeat that last part, the one with Odium?
Odium is not part of Threnity's system, the 4 silent Shadows for Silence of the Forged Hell. He's not there.
I know what you're saying, Darkness, but I don't think she's gonna repeat what she just said.
Odium is part of a different. Odium is somewhere else currently.
It's making me upset.
Yeah, I know. She won't repeat it. I think
I don't know what I said.
Subconsciously, she actually knows. Subconsciously, she knows what she just slipped up on.
I don't. I honestly don't know what you guys are talking about. What did I say?
I can't even repeat it because I forgot what it said.
Yeah,
like I know it's
Odium. Odium did what now?
Well, no, it says in Threnodite's essay that Odium shattered Ambition.
But there was like another part that I was interested in.
Yeah.
I thought I said Odium shattered Ambition, but Odium's not actually part of the Threnodite system.
We'll go back, Darkness. We'll go through.
You can go back. I honestly don't know if I said anything. I honestly don't know what you're talking about.
Fuck. There was this.
No.
It was about the locations of like where they were in.
Yeah, Ambition's in the Threnodite system. Odium's somewhere else, I said.
Yes, but you said that it didn't happen there, I think, or some shit.
I said he's currently somewhere else. The splintering of Ambition happened near Threnody.
No worries.
It says in the system essay that like Ambition was splintered near Threnody, and then Odium's elsewhere currently because he's not in the Threnodite system.
Odium's with me. I am Odium.
Odium's in some other system.
There's something, but Odium
that we have not
be
met yet. Anyway, so Kenton dashes towards the center of the stone area to try to find the red sphere, as he knows he can't take down the creature. He uses his sand mastery to pull sand from the area where he had seen the sphere before, but he has to run away when the creature comes for him again. Just as he was about to give up, Kenton sees the red sphere. However, as he dashes beneath the sandling's arms, he notices a 6th red sphere stuck between the carapace of the sandling. He grabs
that was the coolest shit I've ever. Like, oh my god.
He grabs the one he had seen first, feeling confused at seeing a 6th sphere. Now that he had 5 spheres, he knows he could stop his trial, but he knew his father wouldn't accept even perfection. Thus, he dashes forward again and uses his sand ribbon to grab his sword. He stabs into the creature, and a blast of acrid gas explodes out of the creature, and it also kicks Kenton into the air. Kenton commands his sand ribbon to go into the wound and into the creature, ripping through organs and into the creature's head until the creature dies. Then, forcing himself to stay conscious, he goes over and takes the 6th red sphere out of the sandling's body. He then looks up and sees his father's angry face and the moon peeking up above the ridge of the stone mountain. So what did you think of him, like, killing, his, like, creative use of killing the sandling?
Like,
so,
the sandling thing?
Yeah, the monster.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it because I was thinking kind of the same idea, like, oh, its outer skin is too strong, so its its insides might not be.
Yeah, like the lion from, the myth.
Yeah, and I was like, that would be. I thought he was going to do a fucking whole Pinocchio thing and just jump into the creature and just be like slashing up the inside of the creature and shit. You know?
He was going to like shove the sand down his throat.
Man, but like it's definitely really interesting the way he did that because like I feel like only he could do that. I don't think any other person would have been able to have thought of
Well,
that.
that's true because they didn't have a sword.
Yeah, that's true. But,
Yeah, but also, yeah, if they might not have like even thought of it, because like they would obviously go straight to, oh, I need to slatrify, I need to like create water,
yeah.
and it'll kill him.
So why didn't he just go for the mouth?
I don't know. I think because he wanted to like get free the like red orb, maybe.
But he could have just done that after it was dead.
I don't know. Maybe the thing wasn't opening its mouth. He was slashing at him with his claws.
It was like, mm-mm.
Also, do you think the sixth sphere was placed there on purpose, or was it left over from a previous test? Do you think?
I think it was left over.
Yeah.
Mainly because I was just looking at the graphic novel really quickly,
And
one
it's
of the
embedded in the creature.
and one of the dudes was like, "I only put 5."
5, yeah. I hate how in the graphic novel it ends with, you should be proud of him or whatever. And then like he's like, should I? Like,
I was like,
and then
"Dude,
on
you're an
the
asshole."
like other one we get, I saw his image or whatever, and then darkness.
Also, do you think Kenton will be able to become a Mastral?
I think he at this point he already is.
Well, because they said there's like you don't get an automatic promotion to Mastral for completing the path. It's more of like a prove yourself thing.
Yep, but I still think he makes it. Like he is
Yeah.
determined and
Especially with a 6 sword.
yeah.
Just put them all on a necklace together. Be like, I got 6. Until they.
Oh, and they're
promote
like
him.
they're sandstone, right? They're sandstone.
I don't know what
Yeah.
they're made of.
They're red sandstone.
They might be, yeah.
How
I
do
kind
you
of
not?
imagine them more of like a gemstone, but you could be right.
I was thinking of the red orb from Pokemon for Groudon and Kyogre.
Uh-huh.
My God.
But when I read that it was made out of sandstone, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I guess it's not cool enough for you to take notes on, you know?
I didn't realize. I didn't remember reading that it was made of sandstone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It said yeah.
Okay,
Like
I missed
usually,
that
you just
somehow.
skim over some details that are
I'm
interesting.
sorry.
Uh-huh. I mean, and then all of a sudden she'll come in and think, "Oh, I'm doing really good by telling them this," but then we're like, "Nah."
And then the next time we ever hear something about this story, she's like, "Oh, sandstones really have something to do with the power." Like, no, shut up. No.
So yeah,
Come on, darkness. Let's just keep digging in.
That was all of Whitesand, and then we moved on to Shadows for Silence in the Force of Hell.
I don't know why it was called. I don't know why it's called white sand. It's definitely black sand.
Actually, that wouldn't be that bad of a switch because that was noticed a lot more than the white sand. So.
So yeah.
All right, let's get to this hour and a half long.
So we start with Dagon's point of view as he sips at a beer and speaks about the white
Dagon.
Oh, wait! Before anything,
I don't know how. Like they said it as Dagon, but like honestly,
Dagon?
I could see it being like literally said it in so many different ways. But the
Yeah.
only reason I say Dagon,
Dagon.
yeah, exactly. The only reason I say it's but it's because of the fucking Jujutsu Kaisen creature. Damn, Dagon in this.
So one, I'm extremely proud of Midnight because she's caught herself with the chasm.
I did. I caught myself that word. I knew you were gonna come after me about it.
When I read it, I was like, "There's a chasm where she's gonna fuck it up tomorrow."
I did it twice. I caught myself twice.
And two, I read this whole entire section in an accent.
Did you?
In multiple
What
different
accent?
I don't even know. I just know. I just know it was like an accent. I think it was like the black and white movie accents.
Anyways, Shadows for Silence. Yeah, we start with Dagon's point of view as he sips at a beer and speaks about the White Fox. He tells his drinking companion that the White Fox is the meanest bastard in these parts, and that he had been to the fallen world and come back with strange powers. He also says, if the White Fox lays eyes on you, you're dead. Dagon glances around the Waypoint's common room at the merchants in fancy outfits and thinks they won't last 2 weeks in the forest. Dagon's drinking companion asks why the White Fox would come after him, and Dagon replies it depends on what crimes the man has committed, as the White Fox is a bounty hunter. The man replies that he hasn't done any crimes, but Dagon doesn't believe this and says that people don't come to the forest if they've done nothing. The man gives his name as Ernest, but Dagon wasn't sure it was the real man's name, as he has told Ernest his name was Amity. Dagon then lets Ernest think about his words and glances around the room again. He hears some of the merchants asking for food and says they'll be heading out soon, but Dagon doesn't think they'll last long out a night in the forest. He thinks they'll quickly break one of the simple rules and have the shades go after them. He then notices a man in brown in the corner of the room and wonders if the man might be the White Fox. So what did you think about Dagon and Ernest first impressions of them?
Dagon is everything. I love Dagon so much.
I loved wagons too.
Wagon.
Yeah.
He was cool. He reminds me of like I feel like there's been multiple this like type of character in multiple things.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
So Madame.
I like the stories about the fox.
The White Fox, yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end he's just like, "Oh well, I guess I had to come up with a new story." Fuck, bro.
and he's like, "Have you heard of
Yeah,
Bloody
have you heard of
Kent.
Yep, I was like, "What the fuck, man?"
So Madame Silence, the Waystop's owner, then drops off Dagon's meal and refills his beer. She scowls the whole time, but Dagon thinks that this is her way of saying hello. She was a stout woman and very tough, as everyone who survived in the forest had to be. He wonders briefly if Silence likes him, as she had given him some extra venison, but then thinks that she likely just knows the value of repeat customers, since not a lot of people came out this way. Plus, you were more likely to get affection from a stone than from her. The reason few people came out here was because there were too many shades, and Chesterton was also a problem. Do you think Silence likes Dagon, or do you think she's just being nice to a repeat customer?
I think Silence likes anybody.
She likes her daughters.
I don't know about
he
that.
needs money?"
I mean, what mother doesn't like their children, honestly?
I mean,
Okay,
some
I'm
don't.
sorry.
What good mother?
Let me go back. Yeah, there you go.
What
What
good mother doesn't
good
like her
mother
children?
doesn't like her children?
That's a whole different story.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Ernest then asks about the White Fox again, and Dagon replies that he doesn't go after small-timers. However, Ernest still seems nervous, and Dagon wonders what the man had done. Ernest asks if the White Fox would come here, considering it's a protected waystop, and Madame Silence's dead husband's shade lurks around. Dagon replies that the White Fox doesn't fear shades, and that he likely does respect neutral ground like waystops. Silence then walks by again, and Dagon notes that she doesn't even scowl at him this time, which he takes as him having a chance. Ernest then prompts for more info, and Dagon insists on not being able to tell a story about the White Fox until his beer is refilled. Ernest tries to get Silence's attention, but she hurries into the kitchen and doesn't notice him. Ernest places a coin on the side of the table to indicate a refill when Silence or her daughter next comes out, which is enough for Dagon to continue speaking. So, were you expecting Ernest to have committed like some sort of horrible crime, considering his fear of the White Fox?
Yeah, kind of.
At first,
Yeah.
when I first like was reading about him and all that, I was like, "Is this like someone? Is this like a Hoyt situation? You know, like someone like hiding what they're."
That's what I think Dagon is.
You think Dagon's
Another
Hoyt?
No,
or a different Hoyt?
another Hoyt. I don't think it's Hoyt. I think it's another person.
You think
like
he's a world
Hoyt.
hopper?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever told you that word before, but basically people who
whatever that is.
World hoppers are what they call people who basically are able to travel
assumed.
between the different planets.
Like me.
So Hoyt's a world hopper, Chris is a world hopper, Naz is a world hopper.
Wait, which one's Naz?
Naz was Chris's assistant, the one who gives the knife to Kelsey.
Yeah.
He's from here. He's from Threnody.
Yeah, right.
Sweet. He lived out in the forest?
He might have lived in one of the forts. We don't know. But yeah, apparently he's from here. Which kind of makes me think, I wonder if his dagger that he gave Kelsier was silver.
How long until we read Oathbringer?
Oathbringer? That is the third Stormlight book.
Okay, because I just noticed that there's a PDF on this, so I can actually read it. That's kind of cool. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no problem.
Just noticed it.
Where was I? So we then switch to Silence's point of view as she closes the door to the kitchen, worrying that she had been recognized. Her daughter, William Ann, calls out to her, and Silence quickly tells her to get the book. William Ann's face pales, and she quickly grabs the book from its hiding place in the pantry. Silence takes it from her and begins going through loose pages, mostly with faces, as William Ann glances through a peephole into the common room. She mentions that Ernest seemed familiar, but Silence replies that he is Lamentation Winebear, and just a petty horse thief. So do you think that there's more to Ernest, or is he just being extra paranoid about the White Fox?
Extra paranoid.
What do you think, Darkness?
What?
I said, do you think Ernest is just like because they say that he's only a petty horse thief. So do you think he's done more that like the authorities just don't know about, or is he just being like extra paranoid?
Oh, I don't remember too much about what he said, but I remember him asking, what's his name?
Dagon?
Dragon over here. I remember asking him like, oh, would they come after somebody who says something that they've done something or whatever?
He kind of asks if like they'd come after someone at the way stop, and he says no. He probably respected his neutral ground. I think he also says that Dagon kind of says, oh, he doesn't come after like small timers, and Ernest still seems kind of nervous. He doesn't really say anything, but he's kind of like extra nervous anyways. And Dagon's like, oh, I wonder if he did something more than petty stuff.
I don't know. I think he needs to get a shade sense at him.
He gave me that sense of like, oh, I kind of lied about doing something to make myself seem bigger, and now that's biting me in the ass, you know.
Also, that's a name on him, Lamentation. They get weird names here in
Right, I was seeing
Serenity.
that, and it's like shard names.
Yeah, some of them have like kind of like actual like word names, whereas some people seem to have like just like normal names. Like William Ann's dad is just named William. So William Ann then comes over to glance at the book over Silence's shoulder. She was already taller than her mother, and Silence thinks that she'll take more after her father before she swears God beyond, as she realizes who Silence thinks the men are. Silence confirms that a man named Chesterton Divide and 4 of his men were here. She also thinks that his bounty will pay for a year or two's worth of supplies. His crimes were murder, rape, extortion, and assassination. Apparently he had killed a governor of the most powerful fort city on the continent, and since then he had no room for mercy, as he knew he wouldn't be given any mercy if caught. Silence then confirms to William Ann that the merchants are Chesterton and his men, and that they will likely pretend to be merchants so they can stay at waypoints, listen for information, and so that it won't be surprising if they disappear into the forest, as it'll be assumed the Shades got them. Silence then asks where Sabruki is, an 8-year-old girl, as Silence is worried she'll recognize the men, since she is disturbingly observant. William Ann replies that Sabruki is out feeding the pigs, and asks if they'll be killing the men, which Silence confirms. So, we kind of get it more soon, but I thought I'd ask here, were you surprised to learn that Silence is the White Fox?
I was surprised, yeah.
Yeah, I was say I don't know if I was as much surprised as I was just kind of like, okay. Like I didn't think he was, but I also didn't really, you know.
You know, I had my suspicions as soon as she turned back and went into the past the door.
Into the kitchen.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I had my suspicions there at that point. But I guess it's like, you know, general story building type of shit. So
yeah, I mean it's a short story. It's not like we're gonna have like a million characters type thing. And,
yeah.
So William Ann. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, it could have just been a story, you know, that Dagon is telling. So
that's true.
It didn't have to be about what we're literally reading, but
it could have also been like a thing where like maybe the White Fox is actually multiple people who all just turn in bounties under that name.
It's an organization, yeah.
Or even just like randoms who don't know each other, just because like it's easier than like people knowing who's turning in the bounties, so they all just like
incognito, like
yeah,
bounty turning in, I guess.
So William Ann then says she'll get some poison and put it in the men's beer, fenweed, and Silence tells her to only give a half dose, as she doesn't want the men collapsing at their table. Silence worries that someone will eventually put together that most of the White Fox's bounties get caught not long after staying at Silence's way stop. She then goes back to the pantry to hide the book away, and also quickly checks on her crossbow, which has silver bolts for shades. She has yet to use the crossbow on a person, though. Silence then goes out to check on Sabruki, who is indeed out with the pigs, and actually cleaning the walls of the pig shed. Silence notes that she doesn't keep pigs for food, but because it's said that they will keep away shades, and she'll do whatever she can to make her way stop seem as safe as possible. Sabruki smiles at Silence and calls her Aunt Silence, which makes Silence happy, as a year ago she had only stared at walls blankly. Silence asks why Sabruki is cleaning the pig pen, and Sabruki replies that 2 of the pigs, Jerome and Ezekiel, like it, and it makes her feel like it's something she can do to help. Silence encourages her to keep going so that she doesn't go inside, which makes Sabruki suspicious. But Silence just replies that she doesn't want Sabruki hearing the foul words the men inside are using. She finds that she needs to be more stern with Sabruki than she does with William Ann, so she acts a bit more like her grandmother around Sabruki sometimes. So at this point, did you think that Sabruki was going to listen, or did you think she was going to end up back in the way stop at some point?
Definitely thought she was going back to the way stop.
Yep.
She ain't going to listen.
Nah. Who does that kind of shit?
Silence then goes over to the stables, glancing at William Ann through a window briefly as her daughter makes a paste to dissolve in the beer of Chesterton and his men. The stable hand, Daub, was brushing the horses, and Silence tells him to take a break. She thinks that he doesn't know anything about what she does outside of her waste-up business, even though he'd been with her since before her husband's death. Once he's gone inside, she takes some pouches out from a locked cabinet in the rear of the stables before saddling the horses. Suddenly the door opens, making Silence think she was sloppy for not stuffing the pouches in her apron, But it's a man who calls her Silence Forescout, and she instantly recognizes him as Theopolis. He's a tax collector, and he goes on about the money she owes him for last month's shipment of silver, bolts for her crossbow, and the replacement sections of her protection rings. Theopolis then notices her pouches, revealing that she uses pouches of a special sap that glows under specific lighting to track her bounties into the forest by attaching the pouches to the underside of the horses' saddles. He also calls her the White Fox, which he tells him not to say out loud. So what do you think of Silence's use of Theopolis for not getting found out as the White Fox? Because it talks about how, I think that was supposed to be after the next paragraph, but she does talk about how, like, she uses him to, like, sell her bounties.
Yeah, it's just pretty cool.
I thought it was cool until,
Until later? Yeah, I know.
No, I'm saying, well, mostly until they get further into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Of when when they first show him.
Yeah, I kind of liked him all the way until the near the very end.
Then it's you're an asshole.
Yeah, I was
in that first conversation, I would have shot him.
I mean, that's apparently what her grandmother would have done.
Apparently, me and her grandmother would have, been best buddies, cause
she has a bounty, as he is apparently the one to help her get the money from the bounties to help keep her secret hidden. In return, she gives him half the bounty amounts, which works well for him. He says he has been tempted to tell people who she is for some notoriety, but she says he wouldn't do that, and he doesn't disagree. He jokes.
Oh no.
He jokes that he should glance inside to see which bounty she is after, but she tells him not to, and he agrees that he'll keep up with her rules about coming by only rarely so as not to scare criminals off. Theopolis then produces a piece of paper asking for her to give her waistop over to him in return for paying off her debts in full to him. However, Silence is angered by this and crumples up the paper, even though he says she and her people could keep working there and doing what they normally do. Silence says he'll work them like slaves, and Theopolis again tries to get out who the bounty is that she is after, but she refuses to tell him and just tells him to leave. He taunts her some more about her dead husband and William Ann potentially being born out of wedlock. But Silence continues to insist he leave until he finally does. She wishes the shades would get to him, but thinks that he likely has a cavern somewhere lined with silver to keep him safe. So what was your overall first impression of Theopolis? You guys kind of mentioned briefly, but...
Yeah, like I said, I didn't have any problem with him really all that much. I mean, he's an asshole, but then again, in the business they're in, kind of have to be.
I would have shot him on the spot.
Darkness doesn't.
That's a problem you have to take care of as soon as possible. I don't give a fuck how they do it.
As soon as you see the rot, you throw that rotten tomato away.
Also, what do you think about Theopolis wanting to buy the waist up from Silence and all of her debts to him?
But the thing is, as soon as she realized what the fuck that would mean, that's when I was like, shoot him, get rid of him. If he has that much control over all of that, I'd rather die, like she said, later,
Mm-hmm. What did you think, Mythic, about the offer to buy the waist up and Silence having a bunch of debts?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like Darkness said, after it was like, oh, well, now I understand why he wants it. When he said it the first time, I was like, he's definitely got an angle, obviously. He's like this businessman.
So once he's gone, Silence puts the contents of the pouches into the water the horses are drinking, as Theopolis' suggestion of having the pouches attached to the saddles would be too noticeable. She wonders what she should do and thinks that her grandma would likely have killed Theopolis. However, she didn't want to be like her grandmother, and Theopolis hadn't committed any crimes as far as she was aware, and she felt there had to be a line. Silence then leaves the stables and glances out into the forests, knowing that fort folk generally don't look directly into them. They cover the majority of the continent, and there are animals in them, but surveyors have said that all the predators have been killed by the shades. However, Silence thinks that the forest itself is a predator. So what do you think about the fact that all predator animals have been killed by the shades out in the forest?
At that point, I was like, I mean, like, we know they can kill then, like.
Mm-hmm.
We already knew that they were afraid of them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but I didn't know if it was like, religiously afraid, Like, these are the evil, they're tainted, all that shit, Like how they used to be, like how people used to be afraid of, kind of like the Elantrians.
Yeah, you think they're kind of like, they thought like, yeah, similar to the Elantrians, where it's like, oh, they've been tainted, so...
Yeah, so that's what I thought at first. I was like, these are like, things gone wrong.
So Silence then goes into the kitchen and finds Sabruki with the crossbow on her lap, already having a bolt in it. Sabruki speaks to Silence in a monotone voice, saying they have visitors and that she has coated the tip of the bolt in black blood, so the poison will kill him for sure. When Silence tries to get close to her, she points the crossbow at Silence. Silence says it won't work, as even if Sabruki is able to kill the man, the man's men will kill them in retribution. Sabruki says she doesn't care, but then Silence gets angry at her and asks if she would really risk their lives after all she's done for her and the lives of all the people in here, as drawing blood will bring the shades. Sabruki seems to suddenly snap back to reality and she drops the crossbow, causing it to fire and barely miss Silence. She then runs to Silence and cries in her arms, and Silence holds her as Sabruki sobs about how she saw her mother die and had gotten soaked in her blood. Silence thinks back to when she had found the smoking homestead and accidentally found Sabruki hidden under the floorboards, her whole family, including the other children, killed. Chesterton had done this to 13 homesteads, killing over 50 people. So what do you think about Sabruki's past?
I can see why she was reacting that way.
Fucking PTSD trauma reaction.
Right. But also she annoyed the fuck out of me, but like I get it.
What do you think, Mythic, about Sabruki's past?
I mean, once again, I agree with Darkness here, but and kind of annoyed the fuck out of me.
I would have smacked the fuck out of her, like,
I mean, she's an
right
8-year-old
after. I don't
girl.
give a fuck.
I mean, still.
Also, what do you think about the
An
fact
8-year-old girl with a crossbow.
Yeah, what do you think about the fact that Sabruki aimed the crossbow at Silence and almost, like, injured or even potentially could have killed her?
Right, that's what I was like. That's what annoyed the most out of me. Like,
Ungrateful child.
I get you want to kill the other people, but you want to kill her? Like,
she's like, don't you stop me. I mean, she's a very traumatized child. Imagine just, like, lying beneath the floorboards beneath your mother's fucking corpse as, like, the blood soaks you. Like, 7 years old. Pretty fucked up.
she'll be younger for longer.
Yeah, exactly.
She's got that blood on her.
Uh-huh. She bathed it in the blood.
No. I mean, it wasn't virgin blood, though.
It doesn't have to be virgin blood, it just has to be blood.
Right.
Virgin blood's only for those demonic people, you know?
Oh, okay. So William Ann then enters with empty mugs, glancing at the crossbow and the broken window. Sabruki asks Silence if she'll kill him, which she says that she will. She then has William Ann put the crossbow away, which is broken, and also asks to see if she can find the bolt at some point, as the tip is silver. Silence then gets a drink together for Sabruki as she takes her up to the beds, confirming to the girl that it'll put her to sleep, but Sabruki drinks it anyways. Silence doesn't want her trying to follow them when she goes after Chesterton that night. Sabruki then mentions that Silence used to sing her to sleep, and Silence begins humming, and then eventually does sing her a lullaby until she falls asleep. Outside the window, she can see Chesterton and his men head off into the forest on their horses. Do you think it was a good idea that she made sure Sabruki went to sleep so she didn't follow them?
Yeah, I would have done the same.
I feel like things could have gotten a lot worse if Sabruki was also trying
Oh yeah,
to
for
be out there.
sure, for sure.
I can imagine her battle cries as she's like shanking everyone in the tents and stuff.
Causing all the Shade's eyes to turn red.
Right.
You know, accidentally shoot Silence, you know.
At least the crossbow's broken. You can't shoot
A
her.
little machine gun crossbow.
So we then time skip to an hour after nightfall. Silence is packing her rucksack by the light of the hearth, which her grandmother had almost died kindling long ago. The simple rules were to not kindle flames, don't shed the blood of others, and don't run at night. All of those things draw shades, although Silence had broken those rules on numerous occasions. She then takes the silver dagger, a symbol of the old religion, from the shrine of the god beyond, and puts it in a sheath at her waist. The shrine was in a closet that she kept locked next to the pantry. So what did you think about the simple rules?
Well, I mean,
now it makes sense.
Yeah. I was throughout that like whole thing. So at this point, I don't think we knew exactly how much it would matter if the shades, reacted to that stuff.
Yeah, you really only know that the shades can kill people, and that it's like really dangerous to do like these 3 things.
Yeah. So at this point, I was like, I mean, I guess it's not that bad, but oh man.
You don't want to draw a drop of blood.
Yeah, when they were like doing all that stuff, I was like, huh, why are they trying so hard to make it like not messy,
Bloodlust is crazy.
Also, what do you think about this little closet shrine, which we don't know fully about yet? What's all in the shrine? But what did you think about the shrine?
It's just a shrine. What do you mean?
It's a closet. Why do you think it's like a locked up? Why did you think it was a locked up closet shrine before the?
It's a shrine, you know.
What do you mean? We do that all the time.
Do you put your shrines in closets?
Yeah, and you lock them
behind a locked door.
No, that's actually a thing.
Is it?
Like,
yeah. Oh.
Like, it's actually a thing. Multiple. I know many people do it.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't know religious stuff.
I
know fantasy religions better than I know real religions.
It might be like some voodoo type of shit though, so who knows?
You're some voodoo type of shit.
I am.
So Silence packs a medicine kit, a pouch of silver dust, 10 empty sacks lined with tar, and an oil lamp. She then goes to where she keeps her poisons and picks up a keg of gunpowder. William Ann enters the room, startling Silence, and Silence tells her that she probably won't need the gunpowder when William Ann kind of gets all panicked about it. She then packs a gunpowder as well as a fire starter. Silence thinks that kindling flames brings shades just as quickly as shedding the blood of another, although if you cause yourself to bleed, it doesn't draw them. Why do you think, only, shedding blood of another person draws shades?
What's the god of this world?
So there's definitely not a god of this world. Ambition was splintered, near here.
Right.
Ambition.
Ambition.
Explains a lot. She's very ambitious, so, and her daughter is also very ambitious. So
Don't be murderously ambitious though, or they're gonna come get you.
nah, her daughter is going to be like the most protected thing ever. You know. Okay, shades wouldn't hurt an 8-year-old, right?
Well, William Ann's older.
No.
William Ann's a teenager.
I mean, maybe it's just like, how did they even? We don't get any background on them though, right?
On
the shades in general.
No, we get very little. So let me see what the Friday essay says again on shades. So it says that the shades are partially caused by chunks of ambition's power twisting the people and planet. The larger continent has been abandoned due to something known as the evil, which they don't know much about because Naz won't speak much about it. People in Threnody are afflicted with a particular ailment that upon death turns them into what we call a cognitive shadow.
Have you heard that word before?
Are the shades cognitive shadows affected by the evil?
So they're caused by ambition's power, technically. They don't know much about the evil. We don't even really know what the evil is. There's some questions I have about cognitive shadows and the evil that I was going to leave for the end of this. Once we finish the whole story, if we want to come back to that later.
Okay.
So William Ann then demands to come with Silence, telling her mother that she's no longer young and that she is to help now. She decides that William Ann can come with her, but she needs to do as she's told. As William Ann goes to tell Dobb that they're heading out, Silence packs 2 jars of glow paste. Silence then heads out, noticing old shades wandering about. It was easy to see that they were old since they barely had human shapes anymore. So do you think William Ann was right that she should start learning how to hunt people now, or do you think Silence should have left her behind?
She should have been learned how to do that. Like,
I think she should have been teaching her earlier.
She should have grabbed her first crossbow at age 10 and started going. Bro.
I mean, that's what the grandmother did with
That's
Silence.
I'm telling you, me and her, best buddies.
So Silence then takes out the jars of glow paste, and William Ann comes over with lantern poles for Silence to attach the jars to. She tells William Ann that she needs to be quiet and that the men are like rabid dogs who won't view them as people. She then darkens the brighter jar of glow paste and hands the dimmer jar to William Ann to hold. The shade then touches the ring of silver around the perimeter of the waystop, and Silence thinks that when a shade touches silver, it sparks and keeps the shade away. But then the silver becomes useless and needs to be replaced. She also thinks about how they have silver rings that are partially underground and held by concrete to make them extremely difficult to pull up. Apparently not a week goes by that they don't need to dig up and rotate or replace the rings. So what do you think about this effect that silver has on shades?
At this point, I thought they were vampires.
Wait, isn't that werewolves?
I was gonna say, I think werewolves are.
It's both. It's both. Silver. So vampires can't see their reflection in mirrors because back then, mirrors were like coated in silver, and so that was the reason that they couldn't see their reflection. So it just became over time a myth, further and further, from the truth.
Yeah, as a professional vampire connoisseur.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I just know mythology, all right?
I mean, who would have thought that mythic knows mythology?
Yeah, I know. I was big on mythology back in high school. So.
But yeah, so you were saying that you thought they were kind of like vampire-like because of the effect silver had on them?
Yeah.
What did you think, Darkness? What did you think about the effect of silver on shades?
It's a lot of wasted silver. Also, I was glad because finally silver is doing something,
Silver did nothing in the last book.
So do you guys think that silver would have this effect on other cognitive shadows outside of Threnody, or is this a Threnody specific thing?
I think it's an evil within type of thing. No.
After this whole, after reading this whole thing, then yes. At this current moment, I probably would not have thought like that. No.
Yeah, no,
A
I was
cognitive
in
shadow,
general.
or
Yeah,
just the shade in general?
no, I was
No,
saying
I
cognitive
mean, I
shadow. So
think they're
like,
both
would
the
like
same.
people like Kelsier also be affected by silver?
Yes.
Well, then why the
Yes, they
fuck
would.
would you ever ask if that one dagger that they gave Kelsier was silver? You
Why would I
know,
ask that? What?
if it was silver, the dagger that they gave him.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
Because that's what I was thinking when I was
Well, if he
when
doesn't
I,
touch this, I don't know if he touches the blade. He touches the handle.
it's they wouldn't give a cognitive shadow the fucking no, bro.
That's true. Dad's probably wouldn't have
Here,
given a cognitive shadow a silver
like,
dagger.
have
I
some
just thought
poison.
because
You can
Daz was
occasionally
like from
accidentally take.
Threnody and it was like a religious thing to have a silver dagger.
No, I'm telling you, because I was considering this already. I was like, okay, so like, are they the same thing? Are they like corrupted? I get it, because you know. Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I was like, do they get affected by silver the same? Which
Mhm.
I severely doubt, because didn't they like do some silver? I don't know, but like, I severely doubt that it would have
Here's the
affected
thing. Here's the thing,
Kelsier.
right?
Mm.
What
So
if he handed him the silver dagger because he was like, "We understand at some point you are no longer going to want to be here. So here you go. Here's a dagger. The only thing that can
Mm.
kill you."
no,
Just trying to think outside the box, you know?
So Mythic does think that silver can affect things outside. Darkness says silver's just a Threnody thing.
I wouldn't say it.
Maybe
I
a
think it's whatever
corrupted cognitive shadow thing.
whatever the shades are.
I mean, the shades are cognitive shadows. They're just not
Yes, but they're not
as
cognitive
sentient.
shadows. Cognitive shadows. They're
They
they're they're
they're
evil
specifically also
cognitive shadows.
they're specifically also called cognitive shadows.
Yep.
They are slightly twisted by ambition's power though, but they are still cognitive shadows. A cognitive shadow is like the soul or cognitive like mind of a person without a body that exists in the cognitive realm past their body's death.
I'm saying maybe it's just because. Okay, then I guess it's ambition's power that's allowing them to get fucked up like that.
So William and Silence then head off into the forest, along a not well-maintained but still worn road. Silence thinks about how grain grown in forest clearings was better than that grown in the mountains, so homesteaders traded it with forts along with rabbits and turkeys. Then William Ann notices the glowing of the sap and Silence had given the horses with their water. The sap not only glowed, but loosened the bladder of the horses, so there was a consistent trail of glowing urine spots to follow. So what do you think about Silence's use of the sap compared to what Theopolis had assumed that she would do with it?
This thing blowing urine.
Yep.
I mean, it's a
Yay.
trail that they won't notice. These poor horses are just having leaky bladders. They're like, what's wrong with me? They need diapers.
I mean, then it wouldn't work, though.
No, I'm just saying the horses are going to need diapers. If they're still alive. They're probably dead, actually.
Yeah, I feel like they don't live much longer.
Yeah, I don't think we get confirmation, because they say they either ran off or are killed by shades. We don't know which.
No. I came in like Hoyd and I took them. I'm gonna make them hemalurgic and elementic horses.
Oh my god!
You're not gonna be like
So
Nina and just kill them?
I was actually thinking about that the other. I was thinking about that earlier. About Hoyd in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Hoyd is literally going to become. It's going to be. It's going to be. He's going to become like a god. But I don't know, like Adonasium.
So, well, I mean, there is a reason he's collecting like all these fucking powers and shit. What if someone compatible enough to like receive all the powers is like gathering all the shards all over again, making it into that one being?
It's possible. They'd have to first learn how to reform a splintered shard. Is the biggest thing. Is they need to figure out these like ambition, devotion, dominion. Like, how do you unsplinter a shard to collect that power again? I think that would be the biggest thing, which is something we do not know as of where I'm at. Like, as of current day Sanderson books, we do not know how, if you can unsplinter a shard.
If there's a possible way.
What do you need to?
Well, if you want to collect all the
if
powers.
you have the power.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, in order to, you have to collect up all that power.
Yeah, but I don't think he wants to collect like the shards power. I think he wants to collect what the powers the shards are able to create.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't think it's necessarily like the shard itself that they need, as long as they have a part of the power that it produces.
Okay, sorry. I was misunderstanding your point.
Yeah, I think because like I mean he got Allomancy. I have this inkling feeling, don't know how he did it, that he's gonna have feruchemy.
There's no way he doesn't have hemalurgy. Like a hemalurgy spike.
I don't think he needs hemalurgy. I think why would you need hemalurgy if you already have allomancy and feruchemy?
The reason he would need hemalurgy is if he can't get feruchemy otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I think he already has it somehow. But then I also think he's going to have like the breaths. I don't know how. That's a weird way to. I don't know what.
Well, he was. I think he might have already had some because he was on Nalthis as a storyteller, and he was allowed to like go and see the gods and stuff. Remember?
Oh yeah, so he would have to have had like what?
So he probably would have had at least a like
heightening?
First heightening or something to be allowed.
I thought it was the second. I thought they wouldn't let them in unless they had like the second heightening.
Well, that was to like the meetings. I don't know if like entertainers are different. Because that was to like the actual. Like you had to be an important person or have a certain number of breaths to get into like the court of gods meetings.
I remember that part.
I said that would be more like a servant, no?
I don't know if he wasn't really a servant. I think he was like a contractor almost. Like the because the entertainers that were there, they weren't specifically owned by the court of gods. They were people from in the city who like it was like a big honor to be able to come. I think like entertain the court of gods. It was just like another job. I think it'd be like.
Wouldn't he not need Allomancy then if he has feruchemy?
No.
Well, they have slightly different powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, we know that he either has Allomancy or has the ability to get Allomancy because he took the Lerasium bead.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't feruchemy be a balance of both either way?
Well, remember, feruchemy, they do slightly different things, and plus, if you have Allomancy plus feruchemy, you get like Lord Ruler amounts of powers.
Yeah.
I'm sure, unlike the Lord Ruler, I'm sure he could combine other things. You know, figure out other things that do even more powerful shit.
I wonder what he would turn into.
I mean, a god. That's what I'm saying. I think he's getting physically. All of these. Oh.
Like, is there enough space in your body for all this shit? Like,
we also know that he's not an Elantrian, but he was trying to become an Elantrian.
But I don't know. I feel like he.
I mean, he might figure it out eventually. We don't know, but I feel like at that point.
I feel like he knows how to use the Aeons and all that shit. So.
But you can't use them unless you are an Elantrian. So
well, that was it. But I'm pretty sure I don't remember how
he was talking to a Skaze at one point because he had told the Skaze that he was going to become an Elantrian. The Skaze was disappointed that he wasn't, which the Skaze is like the version of
that's
the
what it was.
Seon.
That's what that was. Yeah.
So as at the end of Elantris, he definitely did not have Elantris powers.
Do we ever see one of those, by the way?
What, a Skaze?
A Skaze?
Yeah.
I'm sure we will. Why would it be mentioned if we didn't get a fucking explanation?
The same reason why there's so many other things that haven't been mentioned, and we
there's a lot
won't ever get an explanation.
There's a lot of books still to come out.
Yep. Still to come out. There's a lot of books we just haven't read yet.
Yep.
I want a hemalurgic horse book.
Oh my gosh.
I want a second Warbreaker.
I want like any type of power horse. Like.
Oh my god.
Anyways, as they walk by the light filtering from the star belt above, through the trees, and the glow paste in the one lantern, William Ann asks Silence why she doesn't believe in God anymore. William Ann brings up that they aren't doing the best, as Silence doesn't change to silver as often as she used to, and she's always upset by Theopolis coming by. And Silence realizes that William Ann thinks they are being punished. Silence replies that she does believe in the God beyond, but that they are living on the continent that used to be called the home of the damned, so she finds no reason to pray if they are already damned. So why do you think this continent is considered the home of the damned, considering the other continent's the one that has the evil that's taken over?
Not sure.
Repeat the question. I zoned out thinking about hemalurgic horse
Of course
possibilities.
you did. I said, why do you think this continent is considered the home of the damned, and not the other continent? Because basically, apparently, when humanity used to live on the other continent, this continent was considered the home of the damned.
Maybe the evil moved.
You think the evil used to be here, and then now but why would they still consider this the home of the damned then, if the evil is now on the other continent?
The shades.
So do you think there's no shades then on the other continent?
Maybe not.
No, they're just cognitive shadows.
They're just normal cognitive shadows instead of fucked up cognitive shadows.
That's what I was thinking, but
that's where Kelsier's going to go if he ever actually chooses to move on, you know?
If he can leave, because he might be stuck on
Can
stage.
two cognitive shadows make a little cognitive shadow?
With a silver dagger, he'll be fine.
What did you say, Darkness?
I said, can two cognitive shadows make a little cognitive shadow?
They don't have bodies, so I don't believe so.
Yeah, right. I mean, well, they could just...
What if in like the cognitive realm, you know? Like...
Yeah, they could just picture themselves pregnant, so...
As far as I know, that is not possible, but who knows?
Give birth.
Hey, you can picture a fire burning, so.
You can picture all the stages of a fetus.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. And at which stage does it become a kid, their darkness?
Oh god, we're not getting
9.
into that. So they walk for 2 hours until they finally see the horses have veered off the road and into the forest. Silence says William Ann stay by the road, and she slips off her shoes and heads into the forest with a handkerchief over the jar of glow paste. She sneaks quietly until she comes across a man sleeping against a tree. She waits until he moves and then begins strangling him with a rope around his neck. Nearby shades stop and watch, and Silence worries about how long it's taking to kill the man, but eventually he does die. She then goes back to William Ann, saying she killed the man on watch and needs William Ann's help now. The two women go back towards the corpse of the man that had been on watch, and then past him until they find the 4 other sleeping men with a jar of glow paste in the pit at the center of their camp. Silence can see the anger on William Ann's face and knows that she is ready to kill. Silence goes up to one of the sleeping men and has William Ann put one of the tar-lined sacks over the man's head, and then she hits him in the head with a hammer. The man thrashes for a moment before going limp, and Silence hits him twice more before confirming that he has no pulse. The tar lining keeps the blood from leaking out so the shades don't come after them. They then move on to the next man. So what do you think of Silence's method of killing so as to not draw the shades?
That hammer action traumatized me halfway through.
Did it?
In a good way. I was proud of her. That was a good kill.
Oh.
I feel like I could have been friends with that whole family, bro.
Would you be a Forest Scout?
Hell yeah.
What did you think of her method of killing Mythic?
I mean, it's insanely smart.
Especially after you know what happens
Wait.
when you get like a drop of blood out.
Yep.
What if you farm people's blood and just throw them?
I don't know, because the shades go after the person who spilled the blood. So you'd have to somehow like get someone to like open up the sack.
Wait, so what if you force someone to stab someone else, right? Would that still count as you being the one who?
No, it counts as the person who actually does the stabbing.
So there's ways around it, which is like okay.
Yeah, but they say that the shades are pretty quick to go after anyone else in the vicinity once the person who stabbed, like person who drew blood, is dead. Like they don't just stop killing instantly after that person is dead.
Yeah, so you tell them to stab and then you walk away.
What if you're not in the vicinity?
How do you force the guy to stab them if they're not in the vicinity?
No, but like, what if you're not in the vicinity and you just throw blood?
I mean, shades are pretty much everywhere.
No,
Yeah,
but I'm, like, let's picture this, right? Picture like, let's say like a glass ball filled with blood, right? And you somehow launch it like yards away, like like fucking 50 meters away, I guess.
Okay.
There's like a group of people. Will they go after you or will they go after the people?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I'm just saying, like, a catapult would be nice.
A catapult would be nice.
Just like with vials of blood.
Be interesting. The third man that Silence goes to kill wakes up as the second man that she had been as she kills the second man, and she has to begin strangling him, which wakes the fourth man, which happens to be Chesterton. Chesterton dashes away, and Silence is forced to go after him in case the shades kill him, as they leave no body for her to collect her bounty. Silence tackles him to the ground as he reaches the edge of the camp, and he recognizes her, saying that she poisoned him. She hits him in the arm and then in the head, wrapping her sweater around his head to keep the blood away as the shades go black and their eyes turn green. She urgently calls William Ann to bring one of the sacks, which she quickly comes over and places the bag over the man's head. Since the hammer is also wrapped up in the sweater, Silence then has to beat Chesterton in the head with a rock multiple times until he dies.
Oh, that's the one that traumatized me, not the hammer one.
So Silence and William Ann then wait and watch the shades until eventually their eyes fade from the glowing green and they don't attack. William Ann calls it a miracle, but Silence says it was just luck. She then has them cover the heads of each of the dead men with an extra sack just to be safe, and then ties the bodies to the backs of the horses and raids the camp to see if they have silver. However, William Ann then calls out to Silence as a group of 8 fort folk come into the area on horses. The one in charge, who calls himself Red Young, thanks Silence for taking care of Chesterton for him, whom he claims he's been tracking for months. Silence glances at the weapons of the group has and tells William Ann to back away from the horses where the corpses are. Silence asks for a quarter of the bounty from Chesterton as she discreetly puts her knife against the rope holding Chesterton to his horse. Red Young agrees easily, and then the group takes the horses and the corpses away, causing Silence's knife to drag across the rope. So what are your first thoughts on the group that came for Chesterton?
I fucking hated them, bro. Oh, these are the ones that tried claiming the bounty too, right?
Yeah. Red's
yeah,
group.
so I would not survive in this world.
I would.
I would I would straight up just shotgun people. Like I can't handle half these people are assholes,
Well, yeah. You know.
and I would want to get rid of them ASAP. So I don't care if my life is on the line. I want them gone.
Darkness would shotgun the first one, and then just a shade would just eat
he
him.
would not last like a day.
I'm telling you, I
I'll
don't
make it last
care
an
if
hour.
like the shades get me. I'm killing this person if they fuck me over.
I mean, I feel like Darkness would just hide in his silver house and hope to God that shades never came. You know?
I'm going around in silver armor.
Oh my God.
So once the group is gone, Silence tells William Ann to head back to the way stop and that she is going to go get the bounty back, as she doubts that they'll give her the quarter they agreed to. Silence then thinks that this all seems wrong and that someone had to have seen her going after this bounty, and she wonders if it's Theopolis. Once they get to a section of the road lined by white mushrooms, Silence tries to convince William Ann to continue on to the way stop, although William Ann resists this. Silence then shows her what her plan is, which is to make a trap using the gunpowder keg and the fire starter and some boards. She wants to trigger a trap by having a horse or person step on the board and set the gunpowder on fire and thus draw shades. The group of fort folk arrive and a horse steps on the trap. Silence worries for a moment that the trap didn't work, but after a moment the trap is set off and a loud explosion happens. None of the horses or people get injured, so there is no blood. Silence and William Ann hurry over to where Chesterton's body has been dropped by the horse carrying it due to the frayed rope that Silence had cut earlier. They begin to slowly carry the body away as the group is surrounded by green-eyed shades. So what did you think of Silence's trap and her getting, and her way of getting Chesterton's body away from the fort folk?
Genius.
Chester's butter.
Chesterton's body.
Chester's butter. Yes.
Damn it.
I just struggle with body, bro.
It was ingenious, is what I said. By the way.
Mm-hmm. What did you think, Darkness?
Explosions. The whole time that every time they would mention the keg of gunpowder or whatever,
Mhm.
I kept having flashbacks to that one BG3 moment we had
Oh gosh.
with the
Oh, where I walked into the thing and it just that one.
no,
No,
Mina
you're talking
and I
about one
went
from
through
our
some traumatic
two-player
shit.
one. He kept trying to like threaten the fucking gnome that's holding onto the rune powder, and she kept blowing him up because he kept threatening her, and so we had to
So I just
restart like
told-
6 times. So one of the bounty hunters gets attacked by
Wait.
one of the
So I was thinking of doing blood like attacks, right? What if you just do fire?
Well, it also says again the person who kindles fire. So it's not just that there's a fire around, it's the person who specifically starts the fire.
Bullshit, bro.
I mean, so wait, what if you brought fire with you? Like, you know,
So that's
somebody
fine.
else kindled it.
So, because Silence does say when she's preparing that she has this oil lamp just in case that they had fire, because she could take fire from an already lit fire. It's just you can't start a fire.
But like,
A lot of rules.
It's very strange rules, yes.
wouldn't that be? God, I fucking hate this world.
So one of the bounty hunters gets attacked by one of the shades, causing black-veined tendrils to go across the man's skin, and his flesh shrinks into his skull. Silence talks William. Also, when I read this, because I had forgotten about the black tendrils, it made me think of Nightblood. I did try and look it up, but I cannot find anything that says that it's in any way similar to Nightblood. But it reminds me a lot of how Nightblood kills.
Yeah. Also, do we have any pictures of how like them dying?
I can see if I can find one.
What they look
Oh my
like?
god!
I kind of want to know what the
Sniper,
ones look
cognitive
like.
shadow.
Yeah, in a sword. Yeah,
Yeah, what if Nightblood's a cognitive shadow? A shade.
in a sword.
Yeah.
Silent talks William Ann into focusing on her instead of the dying man as they continue walking away from the group. However, they end up stepping on some of the white mushrooms, causing shades to start coming towards them. Silence insists on William Ann dragging the body away as she takes out her silver dagger. The shades come over Silence as she swipes at them, causing sparks to appear as the silver dagger hits them. One grabs Silence by the arm, but she rams her arm in farther, ignoring the icy cold pain. Her knife slips out of her hand as the shade backs away from her and spins around in a mad spiral, while the first one she'd attacked was flopping on the ground. Silence glances at her arm and sees her flesh beginning to wither away towards the bone. So what do you think about how shades kill, like this withering effect?
Cool. Now that you compared it to Nightblood, I'm like, oof, I didn't see that, but that is definitely a lot like what happens.
Yeah, the whole black vein thing. I was like, wait a second. I've heard that phrasing before.
Getting some information on Nightblood without even it being a
These are
Warbreaker.
these are my
My
speculations.
God.
I'm wondering if it is possible that Nightblood's like a cognitive shadow attached to a sword.
What if it's not a cognitive shadow, but like the power of ambition in Nightblood?
Maybe.
Because it wants to kill.
I mean, okay, what were
And
they? What was not Kelsey? What the fuck were their names?
Vasher?
Vasher and the other guy. They were like what?
Tenth?
Yeah, weren't they like the gods or something of this
Yeah,
fucking
they
thing?
are they are why can't I think of the name either? They're
Devotion
returned.
and
Returned.
Returned. That's what it was. Yeah,
Yes.
couldn't remember what the fuck the
Yeah,
name
I
of
was
it
trying to
was.
remember either.
Yeah, I mean, but like, what if? Because I mean, what if Hoyt gave him the fucking sword?
Another thought about returned. I believe returned are confirmed to be a type of cognitive shadow that have been reattached to their body.
So if you can reattach to a body, maybe you can actually reattach to.
The problem is
Uh,
Kelsier's body was eaten by a
Yeah.
by a Chondra.
Yeah,
But
that's why
yeah,
he
they're
couldn't come back.
but yeah, basically endowment I believe reattaches like invests the soul of like people who die and then she like reattaches them to their body. So they're like kind of a cognitive shadow, kind of not at the same time.
It makes sense.
it's not against any rule, is it?
Sorry, I didn't hear exactly what you
It's
said.
not. It's not against like any like godly rule type of shit. Right? I thought they even have those there, but
Yeah, no, her whole thing is part of her thing is that like she lets people come back if they want to, and then we'll like bless them, and she kind of like picks and chooses who she wants to do that with.
I wonder if preservation did that with Kelsier. Imagine what he would have become.
I mean, he basically would have become a returned.
Yeah.
Right? Would he? But like, how would it have affected him? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would I? Like,
Did Spook technically die though?
No, I don't believe Spook is a cognitive shadow.
But he didn't he though? I thought because he met Kelsier.
it wasn't
He
a dream.
almost died. He was dying, but he did not fully die. He was like on the brink of death, which is how Kelsier was able to talk to him in that weird dream.
Because I mean, in all honesty, if fucking Vin and Ellen would have known about the whole awakening thing, man, that shit would have been a return thing. Shit, they could have been super powerful.
Well, Sayes kind of says that like, do you like I
I can
fixed
bring
your
you back.
bodies? Do you want to? And they said no. But
Yeah, but like he
it's
didn't
also
tell them
implied-
that.
Yeah, it also implies that like he couldn't, but maybe he could have. We don't know if it's like the reattaching is like a specific thing that endowment can do, or if like any god could do that.
I doubt it's so. Well, he gave the offers, so it's possible that like
Yeah, but
You
he
could try.
also says that
Okay.
like he didn't think it would have worked anyways. Like just fixing the body doesn't fix the soul type thing. So like I don't know if like it's just because he's a new god, like he doesn't understand the powers well enough yet.
I would assume it's more like you're not gonna come back the same way you used to be.
It's very
but
possible.
you come
yeah.
back stronger.
I would
Maybe
say
they would
that.
have lost all their
Like,
memories, just like the other
And?
return do.
They still come back stronger.
but the thing is, would they come back the same way they? Would they come
I mean,
back
yeah,
the
they
way
were
they
changed.
are
Yeah, I
in
thought
like
about that, actually,
Warbreaker?
yeah.
I guess.
Where they come back changed. They don't look the same. They're taller. They're all this other shit.
No, mostly like would their power derived the same way like in Warbreaker, or would it be like that world based in general?
So
Maybe that world.
I'm assuming. Are you talking about like them having to like eat breath every week?
I guess, yeah.
Because
like if it's something centered that like she does, right? Like
So
that
I think-
shard or whatever.
I think they
you know?
need to consume investiture in order to keep their soul attached to their body, and that's why if
Yeah,
they
So
whatever
what-
don't.
investiture
They
that
would
is.
have to eat metal to
So
survive.
Yeah,
I'm wondering
they do
if metal
anyways.
would technically work.
Yeah, they do anyways. So
Right. But like, is this like a constant like? Oh, I'm hungry for metal. like,
Well, I'm assuming it would be like they have to consume a certain amount per either day or week, kind of like in.
what if you just
Warbreaker.
spike them?
I mean, yeah, maybe spiking them with some heme allergy would work.
I just put her. Vince can just put her earring back in.
Oh, that's true.
Where my earring at?
Yeah, she'll hear Sayist all the time. Then
She likes him. They can just chat.
They come
Exactly.
they come
Immortal
back with new
together.
piercings every week.
Yeah, you just gotta get a new spike like every so often because it like drains the power or something out of it.
eventually she'll just be fucking metal face.
No, you just do this. You could probably just do the same spike, just like spike the same place over and over. Because like if it uses up the power, just be like, okay, my earring's out of power. Let's spike a new person with this earring and then put it back in my ear.
Like a new person, we'll just kill off people.
I mean, that's what they do in Warbreaker. They just keep
Yeah, right. That would
taking the
work.
souls of people.
Well, I mean,
I
but
wonder if that's.
they weren't dead though.
Yeah, so they weren't technically dead.
They were just like basically husks of their former self.
I wonder if that's what Kelsey's gonna have to do.
Hell, the one chick was definitely amazing, even though she was a husk of her former self. So,
Who, Jules, the one who's fucking the
Yeah.
lifeless guy?
yeah,
Oh, God.
that guy.
Yeah. So when you said they come back, I was thinking that poor guy. But like maybe not so poor because who knows if he wanted it. Anyway.
Anyways, let's continue with this story. We've got
Yeah.
I do like it though. I like
Definitely.
all the theories about all the other stuff. Now that we've got more stuff that we can work with, it's nice that we can like.
My
mix.
brain hurts.
Why does your brain hurt? You don't even have one.
My emptiness hurts.
So
Yep, there you go.
Silence thinks of a memory from her past when she was 10 years old and her grandmother was teaching her to fight shades. She'd been trapped in a circle with one while her grandmother agitated it from outside the silver circle. Suddenly, William Ann appears, snapping Silence out of her memory, and dumps the whole pouch of silver dust Silence had brought with her onto her arm. William Ann weeps as the silver dust reverses the withering, although Silence thinks that William Ann used way too much of the silver powder. William Ann then tells Silence that Chesterton's body was too heavy for her and that she had come back for her, and Silence replies that she did well. Silence then finds her grandmother's silver knife in the grass, which is only blackened in a few places. She also picks up what silver powder she can from the ground and places it in her pocket as she glances over to see the fort folk trying to ward off the shades with silver-tipped spears. So what do you think about how silver cures withering? But it doesn't just like ward off shades, it also somehow like reverses.
It reverses it or does it just stop it?
No, it reversed it. Like she completely healed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think if you get to it soon enough, you can completely heal it.
Oh, okay.
But the reason
That's
why
why I
William
was
Ann doesn't
like-
get completely healed
That's
is
why I
because
was
it took so
confused
long.
about like her daughter and how it.
Yeah, I think it's
maybe-
just because she had to run all the way to the way stop. Like she didn't have enough like to heal her instantly.
So why not just carry around silver dust everywhere?
Well, I mean, she had a bunch of silver dust with her. She just didn't. William Ann like wasted a bunch of it. She probably would have had enough.
I would have been
William Ann-
carrying jugs, bro. I don't give a fuck.
I
I would
think
be
it's
looking like Gara.
expensive. It's expensive, I think, and they have to use it for. A
They
lot
had
of
a,
stuff.
they had enough to cure her at the place.
Well, she like mixed it with water so that she could like spread it out a bit more.
So why not just mix it with water and take it that way anyway?
There's a lot to carry, and they're trying to be sneaky. I don't know.
Bah. If it's like a
It just
choice
sounds like
between
poor planning.
like if it's a choice between like not dying to shadows or shades or whatever, and like losing a tiny bit of sneaky power, I guess. Like plus they were like poisoned anyway, so
But yeah, so Mythic, what did you think about how silver cures withering?
I thought it was pretty cool. Silver finally doing something. Is
Yeah, I
pretty
was gonna say that this whole story, like you were talking about silver so much in Mistborn, I'm like, oh, he'll like shadows through silence. All sorts of
silver.
silver there.
cool. Yeah. Well, no, it's just that I feel like it was just a missed opportunity. Like literally, he had gold, electrum, and copper or bronze, and like, why not put silver in there? But I can understand, I guess, if he had this plan for this, but just why not put silver in there? Hell, they could do. You could do them both.
So as they make their way back to the, sorry, go ahead.
sorry. Well, if like how Midnight and you are like or whatever, talking about how they can affect cognitive shadows in general, like the silver, it would like go towards anywhere there's cognitive shadows. Not
Yeah,
just that
if
world.
it is a thing outside of Threnody, silver might have properties that just don't really work in a way that Allomancers would notice.
Yeah, because they would already have a thing in all worlds rather than in just one.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, do you
Maybe silver does actually help them then. You know, them ingesting it. They just
Yeah, because
don't-
if
these
it's
shades,
already a thing in like general worlds, they could just use silver for that in that world.
yeah, I
like
can
maybe
understand
silver,
that, yeah.
maybe silver lets you just like punch a shadow in a shade in the face or something if you're like a
Oh my god,
Allomancer.
knuckle dusters!
No, if you just like swallow, if you just burn silver as an Allomancer, you can just like punch a shade in the face.
Oh my god.
Wait, you mean that Spook could burn silver and fucking punch Kelsier?
I don't know. I'm just saying
That would be
maybe.
fucking cool as shit.
That would be insane.
That would be very funny.
It'd be even funnier because Kelsier can't hit him back.
Yup.
He could finally
Well-
get out his pent up aggression, you know?
Well, did Kelsey ever try touching someone alive? He did.
Yeah, he can if he touches someone who's alive, he can like see like them in color, and he can kind of like hear their thoughts and stuff.
No, but I was like with the power of preservation. No,
So does
No,
that
I
mean
think
that
just in
Ruin?
I think just
No,
in
it was
right, in
general
general.
as well.
It was in general. Does that mean that Ruin was touching Vin the entire time? Even when she was a kid? Like that's
no,
crazy.
because
Technically,
when Kelsier has the power of preservation, he can hear people even when he's not touching them.
Mm.
So I think Ruin can talk to anyone as long as he's kind of like nearby. He doesn't need to be touching them. It's just Kelsier in order to like kind of see into the physical realm because he wasn't when he wasn't like holding the power of preservation.
He was
Wait,
always a
no.
god. Don't lie.
That's why I changed my words because I'm like this will get upset. When he
Wait,
wasn't
but-
holding preservation's power, I think he had to touch people in order to like hear them speaking and to like see them properly.
Yeah, makes sense.
What were you gonna say,
So-
Agnes?
the shard that affected these shades is literally what's like giving them the ability to like rot people.
I believe so. Yeah, it says it twisted them. Like I don't think a normal cognitive shadow kills people
Whatever,
this way.
yeah.
At least as far as I know.
Well, we know it doesn't because Kelsier literally like shoved his hand through Vin's head or some shit.
I mean, maybe if he can learn how to use powers. Who knows?
At this point, I just think you're reaching.
I am. I honestly
you
don't
want
know.
Kelsier to like thrive.
But anyways, so as they make their way back to the corpse, Silence apologizes for not teaching William Ann how to fight shades. Although William Ann replies that she was told how, but Silence thinks that it isn't the same as being shown how. They pick up the corpse again and begin walking through the forest without light, as they'd left them behind. Eventually they make it to the main road, and Silence thinks that they are fairly close to the way stop. She places down the corpse for a brief rest and asks William Ann if she has any water left, before seeing Red holding a knife to William Ann's throat. His face was half withered away, and she was surprised he wasn't dead, as she had thought all the fort folk had been killed. So were you surprised that Red was still alive when he suddenly appeared?
Yes. Thought he was fucking dead.
Darkness, were you surprised?
I was annoyed. I fucking hate so many people in this book, in this story. Like, yeah. Also, I was thinking, I feel like I'm already here trying to make like a whole family tradition with these people. At age 10 would be the best, like, time to ask them, oh, do you want to learn to fight these like shades or whatever, you know?
I mean, I don't think Grandma would be giving people a choice. You just
No,
learn.
but like since like this, like I forgot her name, Silence. I'm saying since like she was like, I'm not gonna be my grandmother or whatever. Like
yeah,
I guess at least
have a
ask them.
childhood.
Like, well, she didn't really give them a choice. She was like, no, you're not gonna be like taught this early, and this is what happens, Miss Girl, when you don't prepare your like children like that. So
You also didn't give her like a silver knife or anything.
Yeah, when you
I
don't
would have
prepare your
bubble wrapped
children
them in
for the world,
Does wearing silver jewelry help in any way?
Maybe if they touch you exactly where the jewelry is.
Because the first time I thought like, when they were like, oh, I have like these silver shipments and like all this, and she was like, silver rings. I'm like ring rings, like.
No, they're like giant rings.
Yeah, but I was just thinking like, oh, it's like some like protection spell type of shit.
What were you gonna say, Mythic?
Actually, remember. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
So Red then asks for silver, and Silence lies about only having her silver knife and tosses it to the ground. He then tells her to step away from the corpse, and she complies. Red says that she got his crew killed and that he had to listen to them all die, although Silence replies that they got themselves killed when they came here to try and take her bounty. Red has William Ann pick up the knife, and then he takes it from her. Next, he tells Silence that he is going to have William Ann carry the corpse for him, and that Silence is going to wait here. Suddenly, a padded crossbow hits Red in the shoulder, causing him to slice into William Ann's neck with his knife and draw blood. The shades around them turn black, and their eyes turn green and then red. The shades go to Red as he was the one who drew blood, and he pushes William Ann through one of the shades as Silence reaches for her. William Ann's face immediately begins to wither, and Silence gets out some silver dust from her pocket, but she knows it's not enough. However, the way stop is nearby, and she knows that there is more silver there. So when you first read this, who do you think shot the crossbow bolt?
The one chick, I can't think of her name though.
The child, Sabruki?
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts, Darkness, when you first read this about who shot the crossbow bolt?
It wasn't her.
No, they confirm later it's Theopolis who does it. Sabruki's still asleep when she gets back.
Yep.
Maybe I was like in the dying state, but my brain like thought it was the one crossbow that she has shot already that went through the window.
No, she finds that later. This is a padded crossbow that hits the guy in the shoulder so as not to draw blood.
Oh, wait, we're not even there yet.
No, we're not.
Oh.
The one that hits Red in the
shoulder.
Yes,
yeah. I gotcha. Yeah.
Who did you think shot that arrow? Or that crossbow bolt?
Obviously a cognitive shadow.
Okay.
No, I had no idea.
So Silence carries her daughter, running towards the way stop. She thinks that the Shades may go for the corpse of Chesterton once they are done with Red, since his body is still fresh, but saving her daughter is more important than getting the bounty. She hears Red being killed by the Shades, and other and other Shades around them begin to have glowing red eyes. Silence falls to the ground and makes a circle of silver around them to keep the Shades away as William Ann seizes. She begins to sing the lullaby to William Ann as she holds her, thinking that every outcome tonight would have ended badly. So at this point, did you think William Ann was going to die?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought she was done.
Yeah.
Silence can see a faint light in the distance, the way stop. She thinks that, like her grandmother, she'll die close to home. As the silver barrier around them fades, she notices a strange branch on the tree nearby. However, it isn't a branch, it's the crossbow bolt that Sabruki had accidentally shot earlier, the silver-tipped crossbow bolt. So were you expecting this crossbow bolt to come back into the story?
But I was glad that it did.
Yeah, I didn't expect it, but I was like, no fucking way, you know. Also, I say her name in my head. What's her name? The little girl's?
Sabruki?
I say her name in a Russian accent.
Of course you do.
Okay.
So we skip time a little to Silence stumbling into the way stop, carrying a withering William Ann while also withering herself. She can barely think as she grabs a jar on the windowsill full of silver dust and dunks it into the cistern of water. She then uses the water to dump onto William Ann's face as the darkness overcomes her. While she's unconscious, Silence recalls a memory of her and her grandmother looking over the ocean. Her grandmother scolds Silence for cursing the gods beyond, saying that he has a plan for them. Silence's husband William had died recently, and the grandmother says she's better off without him. Silence then tells her that she is pregnant with William's child, but her grandmother doesn't mind, as she says they will continue on, however. This is also when Silence had first started considering going after bounties to help keep the way stop running, and she thinks that not even her grandmother would have considered it. As her grandmother walks away from her, Silence calls out that she will raise her child in her own way. What do you think about Silence's grandmother, after all these little memories?
We already know what Darkness thinks of her grandmother.
She's an awesome lady. The fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
What did
Like,
you
why
think,
would you
Mythic?
not like her?
There's plenty of reasons, but I mean, I kind of agree with you. She is pretty awesome.
To be fair, do you think she would have the commodity to live in a world like that and not be raised in that way? Like, you see what happens to somebody who is like slightly less, harassed for overtraining. Like she literally like got fucked up. So
Yeah, it's a tough life on Threnody. So Silence then wakes up, alive thanks to Dob, who is holding a jar of silver powder. She glances quickly to William Ann, who was alive though her left side was blackened and her hand had withered to a skeleton. Silence thinks that she'd have to remove her hand and that her leg also looked bad. Dob states that he tried to help William Ann more, but that Silence had done what could be done before he got there. Silence thanks him, and Dob admits that he knows about Silence being the White Fox, as he's an idiot, not a fool. So were you surprised that Dob knew that Silence was the White Fox?
Not at all. Anybody with a half a brain would figure that out.
on the other hand, was surprised that he knew.
You just thought he was just some random idiot who worked for them?
Yeah.
Were you also surprised that Silence was basically unharmed after getting the silver and that William Ann is still alive?
I figured it would happen.
I mean, I guess it's the opposite here. Two opposites. Because I definitely thought they were going to be gone.
So Silence then brings William Ann up to the bedroom and checks over her wounds, glad that the leg isn't as bad as she first thought, although she thinks that no man may ever want William Ann now that she has been blackened by a shade. She finishes tending to William Ann's wounds and then dresses her in a nightgown and puts her to bed, before heading back down to the kitchen. She thinks that she has lost Chesterton's body and thus the bounty, and wonders for hours about a solution to her debts to Theopolis.
I'll take a blackened woman.
She suddenly wakes up, not having noticed she had fallen asleep, with sunlight on her face, and notes that she needs to clean up her supplies from the night before, and then get ready to serve her guests breakfast. However, Theopolis suddenly shows up, and Silence claims that he had followed her last night, and when he tries to deny it, she points out the glowing footprints he is leaving in the mud. She says that Theopolis was the one to shoot Red with the padded crossbow bolt. He doesn't seem bothered that she figured it out, and she backs up to the wall with the pantry covered. So were you surprised to see Theopolis back in the story?
No, not at all.
He had it coming. I'm just saying
He
that.
had it coming. He had it coming.
Theopolis asks if she's going for her hidden weapons in the pantry, and Silence replies that she will never sign Theopolis' documents to hand over the way stop. Theopolis slaps her across the face and tells her
This
to
is
shut
where I
up.
hated him.
He's like, shut up. I'm sure lots of people thought that like you should match your name more. Silence touches her face to see that Theopolis had drawn blood, which he doesn't seem to care about since they are in the way stop. But Silence replies that you should always follow the simple rules. Silence then opens the door to her grandmother's shrine to the god beyond, which holds the shade of her dead grandmother. The bottom of the door was lined with silver, and when open, the circle of silver was broken. The shade turns black and its eyes turn red as it quickly attacks him, not even giving him time to scream. Silence states that Theopolis should have run. She grabs the silver-tipped crossbow bolt that she had brought home last night and guides the shade back into the shrine closet. For some reason, her grandmother's shade never attacked her. She then closes and locks the shrine door.
I wonder why.
Silence tells the shade that she hates it and thanks her grandmother for making her hate her. So were you surprised to learn that Silence keeps her grandmother's shade in the shrine closet?
Yes.
That was the coolest fucking part, bro.
Oh my god. Insane.
She just opens the shrine earlier, no mention of the random shade hanging out in there.
Yep. That shit's so fucking, that was so cool.
Yeah.
I would do that too.
I was like, that's what I sent the thing in the chat with fucking Silence is a badass.
Yeah.
Also, what do you think about the fact that Silence's grandmother's shade doesn't attack her?
I mean, at least it shows that they have some semblance of, cognitive function.
I was gonna say that.
Cognitive shadow. I was trying to think of how to word it, if that was the right way to word it before I said it. Yeah, they have a bit of cognitive.
I was gonna say recognition, but
Yeah. I mean, that's it.
Using the word cognitive is always good, though.
Yeah.
We then time skip to Silence finding Theopolis' cave that is lined with silver. He had taken Chesterton's corpse there when Silence was fighting off the shades the night before. She uses Theopolis' horse to bring the corpse back to the way stop and hides it in the cold cellar. Silence wonders what she'll tell the fort authorities about Theopolis' death, and then thinks that she'll say that she found him like that. We then switch back to Dagon's point of view, as he speaks with Ernest again a month or so later. He's surprised that Ernest is still here, and Ernest replies that he's been working on a nearby homestead and feels safer sleeping at the way stop instead of the homestead, as they let the shades just wander around. Silence walks by, and Dagon thinks that he really should court her sometime, although Ernest tells him that 7 men have proposed to Silence in the last month. Dagon is shocked, but Ernest says... Dagon is shocked, but Ernest says it's because of the bounty she got finding the White Fox's lair, along with the White Fox's corpse and Chesterton's corpse. What do you think about Silence's story to the authorities to get away with getting the bounty?
Love it. Yep, I love it.
What do you think, Darkness?
I didn't think it would work out that fucking well.
She's like, oh yeah, let's say that Theopolis was the White Fox.
Problem solved.
Put both the bodies back in the cave, bring over the authorities, and be like, hey, I want the bounty. The guy who caught him's dead. And the authorities know that he was the one always turning in the bounties.
Yeah.
So Dagon is a bit disappointed that the White Fox is dead, since now he won't be able to tell stories about the guy. He and Ernest give a toast to the White Fox, and then Dagon begins telling him about I can't speak today. About a man named Bloody Kent. So do you think Silence will stop being the White Fox now that they have so much money, or do you think she's still going to be the White Fox?
No, I think she stops. She doesn't need to keep doing it anymore.
Yeah, because apparently even half the bounty was enough for them to have supplies for years. Yep. So having the full bounty.
Exactly. She's got fucking 2 children to look after. So.
Or do you think William Ann's going to eventually become a White Fox in the future?
Yes. Or the other one. Yeah.
Sabruki.
Okay, yeah, the little one seems more of a
bloodthirsty.
Yeah, I kind of like her to take over.
Yeah, plus the other one only has one hand now.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other one's kind of.
I've seen some fucking
difficult.
people.
I mean, that's true. She can still do it, but she might also be like, I've had enough with shades. I'm good.
Right.
Yeah, she might.
It's her turn for the PTSD.
Wait till her mother turns into a shade,
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, and then they have the grandma and the mom in the closet.
They just have a whole bunch of closets. Yeah, just slowly over the generations.
Yeah.
When you think you're gonna die, you send them out into the shades to be killed, then you lure them back.
You put them in a pantry.
Yep. So going back to Whitesand briefly, what did you think of Whitesand overall as a story?
The story of Gara. I liked it. I like both these stories actually, but
what did you think, Darkness? What did you think of Whitesand?
I think I found a lot more personal issues through these stories than most of these. But they were good,
Um,
One was extremely long for no fucking reason, but yeah.
It just wasn't segmented into chapters, is all.
It was long. Ah,
But yeah, so what did you guys think of Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell overall then, as a
Good.
story?
long but good.
What did you think, Darkness?
It was fun to read, especially with my tired, non-existent brain
I
making
really
up
like this.
accents.
I like
Yeah.
Shadows for Silence a lot.
Mhm.
Whitesand I'm kind of mad on, but I love Shadows for Silence. It's a good story in my opinion.
It frustrates me
I find
because of the
Threnody
people.
really interesting. I just want more dark side on Taldane. I don't really care about day
Yeah.
side. I want dark side
Yeah.
stories.
Right to Brandon.
I know, right? So also,
I mean,
Give me dark.
he'll obviously listen to you. You're like his #1 fan, right?
oh yeah, obviously. Yeah. Also, what do you think about just overall? Now that we've gone through the whole story, what do you think about the differences between the Shades and Kelsier? Just kind of overall.
No difference.
They're the same people.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no difference.
Okay.
We had the same fucking mind. Oh my god.
They're the exact same person. What are you talking about?
Right.
I think Kelsier is just going to turn into a shade eventually, and he'll go after Spook. I'm sure.
Do you also think that we'll see any characters from these stories in other books as like world hoppers?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Sorry, but you know what's like weird? Why can they see the shades so much more easier than they could see cognitive shadows in the other world?
I think again it's in relation to the ambition's power twisting things.
So that makes them visible. So so what cognitive shadows in that world are still not visible as shades? Alright.
Yeah, I think if they aren't corrupted by ambition's power, they're probably not visible. Like Kelsier's not visible to people.
So are cognitive shadows I guess they're known in that world, right?
Yeah,
in general,
I mean, I
instead of
think
shades?
world hoppers definitely know them really well. Like I don't think a world hopper from every world would know about cognitive shadows unless they visit other depending on where they visit. But I think if people here obviously know about shades, and I think if they became aware of the overall Cosmere, they would probably be like, "Oh yeah, I understand this."
So they don't know that there's cognitive shadows? I thought there was
no,
some
they
ritual thing or
consider them
something
kind of more
happening.
like ghosts and like demons. Like they don't know about the cognitive realm.
Okay.
All right. Do you guys have any other thoughts about those two stories? All right.
Wait. How? Wait. How do the shades look like again? Like their body, and not their eyes.
I believe when they're newer, they look like humanoid forms. When they're like older, they start to lose their humanoid shape. They kind of look like I think like partially translucent, like black creatures. Like they're apparently like fairly see-through when they're not angered. When they're just like floating around, and they're like almost.
And then when they're angered, they're like solidly black.
Yeah, and they say that they're like impossible to see during the day. So like if it's light out, you can't see them at all. The only reason they can see them at night is because it's like pretty much pitch black because there's no like lights around, and unless they're angered, and then they become like fully black and like opaque.
I was just trying to compare them to the misforms from Mistborn.
Oh yeah, I got what you're saying. Like they're
the
Misspirit.
Because those are, I guess, what we would think would be cognitive forms, I guess. So yeah, it makes sense that they're made of like mist and all that stuff over there, though.
Yeah. All right. So before we end this, we have the system essay for our final story, the Dromonad system. Here's our little star chart. There is a decent amount of planets.
It's a lot of rings.
A lot of rings.
We have 7 planets.
Goodness.
They're literally just numbered, basically.
1, 2, 3. Planet 1, planet 2, planet 3.
And, like the moon for first of the sun is first of the first.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
And the story is called the Sixth of Dusk. But anyways, the Dromonad system. There are many planets in the Cosmere that are inhabited, but upon which no shards currently reside. Though the lives, passions, and beliefs of the people are, of course, important regardless of which planet they reside on, only a few of these planets have relevance to the greater Cosmere at large. This is mostly due to the fact that travel on and off the planets, at least in the physical realm, is dependent upon perpendicularities, places where a person can transition from Shadesmar. So I think this is the first time you get the word Shadesmar. Shadesmar is another name for the cognitive realm. Onto the planet itself. If a world doesn't have a perpendicularity, then it can be studied from the cognitive realm, but cannot truly be visited. In general, perpendicularities are created by the presence of a shard on the planet. The concentration of so much investiture on the cognitive and physical realms creates points of friction, where a kind of tunneling exists. At these points, physical matter, cognitive thought, and spiritual essence become one, and a being can slide between realms. The existence of perpendicularities, which often take the form of pools of concentrated power on the physical realm, on a planet is a hallmark of a shard's presence. This is what makes First of the Sun so interesting. The system, nicknamed Dromonad, has a remarkable 3 planets inhabited by fully developed human societies. There is also a 4th planet in the habitable zone. This is unique in the Cosmere. Only the Rosharan system can rival it, and there one of the planets is inhabited solely by splinters. All 4 of these planets have water as a dominant feature, and one of them, the first planet, has a perpendicularity. I have not been able to discover why or how this perpendicularity exists. There is certainly no shard residing in the system. I cannot say what is happening, only that this feature must hint at things that occurred in the past of the planet. There is likely investiture here somewhere as well, though I have not yet had a chance to investigate First of the Sun myself. The area around the perpendicularity is extremely dangerous, and the few expeditions sent from Silverlight have not returned. What is your thought on planets having life but not having a shard associated with them? So apparently, shard does not equal human life.
Maybe it's a mixture of like actual like evolution, because we know that in most of these books that we read and stuff in general, there's always like rules and like a science to it. So I'm assuming maybe there's like ones that are solely centered on that rather than the magic itself.
Did you have any thoughts, Mythic?
I mean, what Darkness said makes really good sense. So.
Also, what are your thoughts on the fact that multiple planets in this system are inhabited?
It's the first 4, right? I mean, the first 3.
Yeah, I believe it's the first 3, and technically the 4th one is also within the habitable zone. It's just not.
But it's not inhabited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that the fact that multiple planets in the system being inhabited will be important later, where like maybe space travel is possible, where you can actually like visit these planets that have no shards?
Yeah, 100%. Because Mistborn Era 4, right?
Yeah, Mistborn Era 4 will take place in Space Age.
Well, if if there's like, there's a stretch. If there's like gods fighting and shit, right? It's gonna like fuck up the worlds that are inhabited by gods in general, like shards or whatever. The people there are gonna need an escape. So what better place to go than one
Places
where there
there are
isn't
no shards.
a shard? Yeah.
Also, we do talk about how Scadrial's gonna hit Space Age in 4th Era. Remember that not every planet system may hit Space Age at the same time.
Yeah.
That is when Scadrial's gonna hit.
But
yeah.
Yeah, you just said in general if they would be able to. So I'm saying yes. If fucking Mistborn Era 4 can do so, then I would assume that anybody could get to that point.
Yeah.
To be fair, with how rapidly and how people drift the world and shit already without even being in that like stage, and already like people, like I'm pretty sure people would like gather powers from and technology in general from different worlds, even if they're not originally there. Like they would adapt quickly to the technology and stuff they use for space travel. There's no other way.
Yeah. Also, what are your thoughts on the fact that there is a perpendicularity on First of the Sun, but there is no shard associated with this planet or this whole solar system?
Maybe somebody has a like power in there that was like, let's say like, because we're not limiting gods to just their planet because they can travel, right?
I believe until they inhabit a world they can travel. I'm not sure if they can travel once they've like fully invested a planet, because I believe Preservation states that he's like stuck on Scadrial, and Ruin's stuck on Scadrial unless he was able to destroy Scadrial. So I think if you get invested enough in the planet, you can't travel anymore.
Right. But if you don't, you can travel, right?
Yeah, it sounds like they could travel. Like Odium apparently like went and
That's
killed
what I was
Ambition and then
thinking.
left, and like Ambition technically wasn't physically on a planet when Ambition was killed.
So what if one of the gods or shards or whatever? What do I call them? Shards, gods?
Shards.
What the fuck do I call them? Shards. What if one of the shards was like traveling through space, you know, like, and was like, hey, this person seems cool, like enhances them in dips, and that opens up like a whatever that word is, you know.
Perpendicularity.
There you go. I was halfway there.
Yeah, you were. You were good. You said enough for us to understand what you wanted to say.
But yeah, like, what if like that's the reason?
So do you think then that potentially this perpendicularity is technically from a shard we've met before, or do you think it's from a shard we haven't met?
I'd say we haven't met yet.
I mean, what does that symbol mean? That symbol.
Oh, the symbol for the Dromonid system? Here, I can send it to Mythic too.
Wait, what?
It's a little symbol.
Oh, hey, I've seen
It's a
that.
fucking bird. Caca.
But yeah, are you interested though in our first? This is our first planet with no shard. Do you
Oh,
think
we
it's
didn't even answer though. I don't. I think it's a new like shard.
You think it's somehow like a new shard being formed?
Not a new shard, like a shard we haven't met.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, okay.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Mythic, you're onto something.
I will also tell you just ahead of time because you'll figure this out. This story is technically the furthest in the future of the Cosmere that we'll have read. This happens in the future. But yeah, so yeah, for next week, just read the whole Six of Dust story, and then we'll be moving on to Stormlight after that.
Alrighty, sounds good.
We'll be
Why?
taking a break from Arcanum Unbounded until we go back to the last two stories.
Wait, what's happening?
And Stormlight. So there's two stories in here we're not reading.
Yeah, but like, what's happening next week?
Next week is just Six of Dusk, just one story.
Okay, so we are reading. Okay.
Yes.
You gonna pin it this time?
Yes,
or?
I'm pinning it right now. There you go, Six of Dusk. So yeah, we'll be completing.
Good job, guys! Woo!
So yeah, in 2 weeks we'll be moving on to Stormlight, and next week we'll briefly be doing the prelude to Stormlight. Not the prologue. There is a prelude and then a prologue. So prelude, and then prologue will be in our first episode of Stormlight Archive. So yeah, look forward to that, and I hope you guys enjoy Six of Dusk, because Six of Dusk is one of my favorite stories as well. I really like Six of Dusk.
Nah.
Alright, Sixth of Duck. Got it.
Not Duck! Dusk!
Yeah, Sixth of Duck.
Oh my gosh. Alright, so yeah, thank you all so much
Bye.
for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.